You're good to go, Mayor.
So I call the meeting to order on February 14th, 2025. And this is a budget meeting. So well, nice thing to have on Valentine's Day. So anyway, just a couple of remarks. One, the Mayor Prescott sends his thank you for the fire department for backing them up, I guess, on their structure fire this week. So thank you very much. I told him I'd pass on the words. So
Thank you.
During our talks or discussion today, I think we just want to point out that our global company that was going to move in, we still have NDAs with them, non-disclosure agreements, so you can't say their name or anything else. So that's a reminder, Mr. Council. That will stay in effect until we tell you otherwise, I guess. And today we're going to sit down with the managers and directors, CAO, and look at the budget. It's not going to be an easy one. Our staff has worked very hard over the year. And even before coming to this meeting, they've had 2 or 3 meetings trying to slash down what they could. Again, it's, we got to decide today, or not today, but take a look at everything. Again, you better come out of oil. The days of 1%, 2%, no percent are gone by, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, we got through it today. So everybody be responsible, and it's nothing personal, of course, to anybody, but like I said, the staff worked very hard, and you know, it's their livelihood, and we're kind of tearing apart while we sit up here. But again, we're elected officials that have to watch the dollars and cents, and we're the ones that are going to be responsible. All right, that all said, okay, we didn't have any. Does anybody do the approval of the agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor Winans, second by Councillor Pate. Be resolved that the agenda for February 14, 2024 be adopted. Does anybody have anything to add or change on the agenda? I see nothing or call the question. All in favor? Carried. Yep. You've got in mind, we're going to take that and throw it over in Councillor Bowman's desk. Yep. And first thing we have is trying to make room up here. We're hoping for new furniture, but I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, so first thing on the agenda is report 2025-024, Public Works, purchase of new 2026 Freightliner tandem snowplow. And as you can see, the report came through, gives us options. There's no picture. And we could use a little less adjectives too. My comment. But anyway, it's open for discussion. So maybe John, I'll let you start off, say a few words, please.
Thank you, through your worship. So currently we have a truck that's approximately 15 years old. We did put about $9,000 into the month of November alone, put another $5,000 into it recently to keep it operable. We came in the other day to the shop with a pool of antifreeze on the floor. The antifreeze is going through the exhaust. So we brought it down to our nearby mechanic just down the road there, of course, that diagnoses bigger engines. And they definitely told us there's something internal. There's specialty tools that needs to be done to diagnose even farther, but they are saying there's something internally done or it's internally the problem. And they recommended to, of course, take it to the dealership. It's an international truck. Take it to the international dealer in Kemptville because they got the specialty tools. But it sounds like it's going to be an engine replacement. But I just wanted to know how much more money we want to sink into this into this truck, sorry. Again, it's 15 years old. I do have some quotes. We did have a quote of 50. If we have a quote there for the new truck, I have a quote here for the new truck, $416,000. I have a quote here for a new engine. at $62,765. That'll also have to be installed. There might be some parts to hook up here and there. Again, a question, I want to let you know, this is that Max Force engine that a lot of people have had problems with. One of the, not a great engine that was ever made by International. And anyways, we're down to 4 trucks right now. Yesterday, I was down to 3 trucks with this storm. And it would be nice to, we strive on our 5 routes in this township to keep the MMS run to the Ontario Minimum Maintenance Standards, MMS. And again, if we went down to 4 trucks, again, yesterday we went down to 3 with a little bit of a hiccup of 1. It's a little bit of a struggle. So the options are there to hopefully replace it with a new truck, replace the engine, or go down to 4 routes, and that would probably lower our standards of service, level of service.
I got a couple of questions for the council members.
Okay. Well, you had mentioned that you're also using a grader now, being your downer truck.
Yeah, so yesterday I called in the grader because of, it was because of the anticipation of the storm. And again, that can only do gravel roads, right?
Yeah.
Especially, but yes, we do have a grader that can be always optional with a wing, and we do have the big plow in the front if need be. But again, with the grader, we always have to throw a truck in behind it anyways to put material down behind that grader. So it does work. It burns a fair amount more fuel too as a grader, because it's a lot heavier. Then you put the nose and the wing on, it gets even heavier. But yes, we do have 2 graders that can be used for a backup plan. Yes.
So now, keep in mind that I know nothing about this stuff, but growing up in Northern Ontario, all of our roads, paved or not, were being plowed. I'm not sure if it's changed. I haven't been there in a snowstorm lately, but they use graders in Timiskaming Shores.
Yep.
That's how they plowed our roads. You could hear it coming a mile away. When I was a kid, it was like, that was a clue to go run to the window, the snowplow's coming. So what's different here? Is it just different, I guess, attachments that would make it so you can't use it on pavement? Or is it just add more wear and tear in the road?
Well, wear and tear on the road for sure, but again, we have to have a truck in behind no matter what to put salt and sand on the ground. So you're burning fuel, then you're burning fuel again, and the man hours. But yes, graders are very useful in the winter if need be, yes.
Or the wear and tear in the road.
Yeah.
Because up north, there's nothing but graders on gravel roads. You
Yeah.
don't see a snow plow to crap.
No, I don't.
So, and it work. They actually can make turns and everything else, but like I said, I wouldn't dare use it on a paved road. Yeah.
But if we use the grader on all our gravel roads, that would, I mean, other than you have to go along after but you can do that the next day when it's not storming out. Put the salt and sand down, and you don't use that much on a gravel road anyway.
No, but I still have to have material on the ground with my MMS, my minimum maintenance standards for sure. So plowing and the abrasive material is all combined into one within a certain minimum maintenance standards. For your road traffic.
John, this is truck number 7 that went down, right?
No, this is truck number 2. So this is our oldest truck that we have. We already replaced 6. We already replaced 7. This is now the oldest truck and the last international truck we have. That's truck
Well,
2.
truck 7's is a year younger, 2 years younger?
No, truck 7, like I said, we already replaced truck 7. So truck 6 and truck 7 are brand new. Not last year's budget, the year before. So when we had the big capital spending, there was two tandem snow plows involved with that big budget of 2023.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question for, I guess, Shannon, or do we have any money left in reserves for public work?
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, we do have a little bit left. As you will see in the budget this year, we have taken a little bit from the roads department to offset some of the one-off projects. But certainly there's not enough in our reserves under roads to cover the cost of this. It would basically deplete everything, and then we'd have to probably dip into our working reserves to cover the rest of it. I will also note too is, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but the truck that's in front of council right now, John did put in a $200,000 contribution to reserves in his initial budget in anticipation to replace this truck, I believe,
The following year.
The following year. It was one of the cuts that we took out of the budget initially when we had our internal review, just due to the tax rate, and the tax levy, so I want to make council aware of that as well too, so.
Because this, I mean, the new truck is about a 6% tax increase.
Correct.
The repair is a one and a third.
Right.
Yeah.
We also have a question, I'm just looking through papers here because, yeah, go ahead.
And John, you prefer not to fix it, replacing it would make more sense.
So again, it's a 15-year-old truck. I sink another $80,000 to $100,000 into it. What's next? What's next? What's next? The transmission. It's throwing good money at bad. And can I also throw something in there also too is I've talked to my contact. There's 5, 6, 7 trucks that we can get our hands on. He has some that set aside from last year that if we look forward, if it gets cut this year, the tariffs here shortly, the Canadian dollar's weak, we can get a decent price on the trucks that are sitting there waiting to get a sanding unit on it.
Go ahead, yeah.
And you would get that truck right away, like you have for this winter.
I know, so it'll be 2 to 3 months away. Yes,
Canadian or American?
it's Canadian.
John, I'm trying to find, flipping through the papers here, your equipment list. I know it's in here because I saw. You know what section?
It would be under section 3. Yeah, in section 3.
Vehicles right after public works.
Yeah, it's pretty much in the middle of section 3.
Yeah, I'm just going.
So on this, is there anything, I know I'm jumping ahead, but in your want list, is there anything that we can cut there to offset this truck?
In my want list under my capital.
On your capital, yeah.
So my capital is under $1 million this year. It's kind of bare bones right now for public works needs. There can be some cuts if we want to get into it, but again, with my road projects I have there, if we don't do roads this year, we're gonna start falling behind.
Okay, yeah, but what would you prioritize? Is it more important to get the truck? Or more important to get these roads done? Like what, if you had to choose? So where can we, like, if you say it makes common sense to get this truck now because it could be cheaper and it's a better deal than putting money into the old truck. But to offset that, say, okay, well, maybe this road's not gonna get done.
Go ahead, Mr. Shane.
Can gas tax be used for the truck? I think is what he's asking.
Well, yeah, I think that's, part of it is that, the roads that are outlined in the budget are coming from, CCBF as well as OSIF. I believe CCBF you can,
Yes.
OSIF, I don't think you can.
I don't think you can with Ontario.
No, so you'd have to juggle the money around, but I think the other thing, to consider for council is, with John not getting the truck for 2 or 3 months, we can certainly look at other options. If council is really set on replacing this and keeping the 5 routes, we can look at other options instead of hitting our tax rates this year or minimizing our tax rate. I did poll yesterday, Infrastructure Ontario. Their interest rate right now is 3.35% for 5 years. So if council decided that they wanted to go ahead and purchase this truck, we could look at a loan for 5 years of around $425,000, which would mean that there'd be a contribution over the next 5 years towards this truck of about $93,000. The thing with going with Infrastructure Ontario, though, once again, is that you are set for those 5 years. Whereas we could look at another loan through Royal Bank. That also goes against our debt charges as well, too.
But if we do that infrastructure, that's only about the same as what we spend to repair the truck, right? 93,000 is about what we're gonna repair the truck, and we've got a truck that's actually, John in his report says, gonna save us money.
Right.
So I think that would be the better option than a 6% tax increase on top of what we're already looking at.
Yeah, I think certainly it comes down to what council wants from a level of service. As John said, we have 5 routes right now. Council can certainly go down to the 4 routes. and reduce our service. But if council wants to maintain what we currently have right now, then there's options there. Doesn't have to come with the tax rate right now, but there would be future implications if we decide to go.
Well, I think the danger would be the same as now, is down to 3 trucks. So that's, you know, if the other trucks being older, then that's our danger too.
So, okay, so it's truck number 7 we're discussing, right?
Truck number two.
Truck number 2. That's what I thought. So truck number 2 is 2011.
15 years old, 15.
Truck number 7 is 2010.
Now, we replaced truck number 7, so it is a 2024 Freightliner. That number 7 is a new, truck number 7 is the one we sold on Gov Deals just recently, this summer. So we replaced it with a Freightliner 2024.
All right, so we just gotta get our record.
Yeah, we just haven't updated that.
Number 6 updated?
Is that the one that's,
When we're making decisions up here, we need it updated.
there's one that's listed number 6, 2024 Freightliner.
Yeah. And number 7 is the same truck.
So we have 4 trucks, tandem trucks.
Yeah, so I have a new truck 6, truck 7 Freightliners. I have a truck 8 and a truck 9 that are also Freightliners. Yes, so
So 8 is 10 years old.
Yep.
11 years old.
Two would be.
number 9, so the next page.
So out of your 4,
2017.
two were recently replaced about 2 years ago.
Yeah. I have a 2020 or 2017 and a 20. So I believe Mr. Mayor just said, yes. Truck 8 is 2014, so 2014 and a 2017 are my 2 oldest trucks right now, minus this truck 2. It's 15 years old.
What's recoup value of the truck 2?
So we sold our truck 7 that was running and functional. We sold it on Gov Deals for, I believe, just over $7,000.
So maybe I'm thick here this morning, I have enough coffee. So truck number 2 is the one in question.
Yes. 2011
Truck
International.
number 7 is older, but you said, no, it's not older.
No, it's.
Truck number 7.
Has not been changed, sorry, but it's 2024.
Any questions? So I don't think we can I don't wanna make a resolution right now until the final budget. So. If we go through everything today, you'd have a better picture, you know, it's my opinion, but. I'm making decision now, I know what it would be. I'd rather go through everything else we're gonna talk about today, or at least public works. Well, not everything. I don't want to defer, because we may bring it up later. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so we can kind of just leave it
Yeah.
the way it is.
we haven't got the whole picture.
No, you're
I'm
absolutely right.
not gonna vote on $416,000 when I don't know what effect it has on everything else.
And that's certainly why we wanted to bring it to council at
No,
the very
it's
beginning
good.
of the meeting, is that
Yeah.
to have that in the back of your mind as we're going through the budget today, and certainly to decide whether or not you want to go with, 4 routes versus 5 routes, or how you want to go about doing it. So
Yeah.
there is some challenges in front of council, so we're certainly aware of that.
Yeah, because I don't think council has the full picture yet. So, anyway, okay. All right. Bart says I missed one, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Does anybody have anything to report? Didn't think so. Okay, good. Okay, budget overview, is that a separate?
No, I'm just gonna quickly chat with council quickly, and then what we'll end up doing is getting right into the budgets. I do have the library coming at around 10 o'clock. They'll do their presentation. Theirs is usually pretty quick anyways, and then we can continue on from there, but certainly wanted to let council know that as you've gone through your council or your budget, there is some challenges in front of us. Certainly, as I indicated before, it's not the perfect budget. It is a high number, but certainly a number that moves us forward on our reserves as well as keeping our infrastructure up to date. I believe that what you will see in the budget today is a very lean budget. Staff have gone through it numerous times and have reduced the budget or their departmental budgets a few times. Initially, we were about over 50% initially when we got the initial budget. And staff have done a great job in going through it and pulling out some things that can be pushed off to future years to make it a presentable budget to council today. So as council's going through the budget today, I want you guys to keep in the back of your mind, if we are going to reduce 1% of our tax rate to about $65,000. As we talked about on Monday, our reserve funds. Historically, we have taken on average about $2.1 million from our reserves for the last since 2021 to 2023, which has softened the tax increase to our residents. This year, as we are quite lean on our reserve funds, this is where you're seeing the most impact on our tax rate. We're using less reserves, therefore more expenses are hitting the tax rate and therefore increasing the residents' taxes. I guess before I finish off and throw it over to council, two things. Staff have worked very hard on this, and certainly this would not be possible without them. So I'd like to thank staff, senior staff, for all the hard work. Special thanks to Anne, who has put this budget binder together for council. And I think it's very detailed and very thorough, and hopefully we'll paint that picture as we move forward throughout the day. And then I think, thank you to council for taking the time to go through it all. And our hope today is that you ask tough questions and you ask us things that puts us on the spot a little bit, because at the end of the day, we have made the recommendations, but certainly it's up to council to make the final decision. So we take nothing personal by the questions that are asked today, decisions that are made, and certainly we know you guys are in a tough position as well too. So with that, I will throw it over to Mark or Ann if you want to add anything at all.
I had a question, can we just clarify our reserves here?
Yep.
So if you go to the book there, comparison percentage of reserve balances to expenses trend. Reserve, isn't it? Yeah, reserve.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So that chart and the following one, when they mention low risk and high risk, first of all, maybe I'm missing something, but all our graphs there are in green at low risk. And maybe it's the terminology, but I don't see it as low.
Oh, is that a percentage?
Well, it says percentage.
Yeah. Thinking that was section 5, Shannon.
Yeah, it's got all my.
Once you're below 20%, you're running for medium risk. So that's why we're still in low risk, we're at 25.7.
Yeah, so the ultimate goal is, as our auditors have said in the past, is that they would like to see operating, so basically reserve balances to your operating expenditures between 25 and 50%. That's your ideal. Once you start getting on the cusp of 25, it becomes so much of a small risk, but then as you get lower, it becomes more and more important, right? So right now, with what we've got presented to council today, I believe we're at about 26-27%.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we're on the low end, but certainly, you know, we've seen it worse before. Back, you know, 3-4 years ago, we had high reserves, but I think the high reserves were also inflated somewhat because we were getting tons of money from COVID. We were getting money from the government that was being thrown at us, that was sitting in reserves. Projects weren't getting done. Therefore, money was continuing to stay in the reserves. So now I think you've seen this big shift over the last 2 or 3 years where things are being completed, the funds are being expensed, and now you're left with, to me, I think more of a, what your reserves should have shown years before, right? So, you know, we're about 2 million dollars. And that's the reality, I think, moving forward. So the goal is to continue now to increase our reserve funds rather than depleting it.
But there's two pressures on that. One is our operating expenses are that much higher,
Correct.
so that puts your pressure on keeping that percentage, and we've been depleting reserves by taking money out of it.
Correct, absolutely.
There's two things that.
Exactly, yeah.
Just for council, when you look at the other chart, the next page there. When was COVID?
2019,
2019?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that has an effect or anything, but, you know, the trend there is.
Yeah.
I know 3 of us, you know, sat on the council, the last council too, so, you look for 2022. Still declining, so. And I also realized we, you know, we had some different staff arrangements in there too. So anyway, just something to think about for council.
yeah, and if you certainly look at 2019, that's kind of when you were sitting at a very high reserve fund balance because money was flowing in from COVID, right? Modernization funding, all that kind of stuff, right? So as you can see, as COVID for, you know, 3 years, 3.5 years was quite high. And then as we got out of COVID, money started getting spent and now we're kind of down where we're kind of more realistic.
Well, and during COVID, we didn't have the expenses either.
Right.
Because nothing was being done.
Correct.
There was no, yeah.
Any other questions? No, all right, go ahead, Susan.
Okay. So I believe we've got the library here now. So what we'll do is we'll, let the library go through their budget. Yeah, perfect. And then we can kind of go back, so. No. Sure, I guess we can.
They're waiting for it.
Okay.
No, I know. There's no one.
We're just waiting for a few more people to come there, so. Would you rather me bring up we've got a PDF of this entire budget. Would you rather me bring that up on? Does that help at all for council at all? Bring it up on the screen or? Okay.
Me personally.
What's that?
Me personally, anyway.
Okay. Well, if you. If you want, Mayor, while we wait for them, we can certainly go through the revenue budget first, which is, didn't take too long.
Yeah.
If you'd rather do that.
Sure.
Okay. I go through the revenue first.
Okay.
Okay. Let's maybe find that. Okay, so we're at the revenue section there. So not much has changed when it comes to revenue year over year. So as you can see at the top line, we're proposing our levy to go from about 6.125 up to about 6.9 million. As well, you'll see, as part of our revenue too, that the interest penalty on tax accounts have gone down. Mainly being is that if we're collecting more taxes, we're not charging as much interest, so it's kind of the right balance. Funding has slightly increased, our OMPF, increased slightly a little bit. Our OSIF increased, as well as our CCBF increased. So in total, probably about $50,000, those federal fundings have increased. And I think that the biggest thing for council, when you look at the revenue, is on the second page, when you look at the transfers from reserves. So as you can see, about 1.6 was transferred from reserves last year. This year, we're proposing to take $655,000. So I think that tells everything the council needs to see on why we're looking at about a 12.33% increase. So other than that, if there's any questions on the revenue side, staff are here to answer, and same with us as well too, so.
The only question I have on the revenue side, and that is, some of our revenue streams are high enough to offset our costs. And really, services should be neutral for the majority of the residents, so.
Yeah, and I think you're probably looking more at like the building department for sure, right under.
Building department, also the recreation.
Yeah.
Where we're charging for summer camp.
Yeah.
Should be more in line with what it actually costs us.
Yeah, no,
So, I mean, we are the cheapest around.
Yeah.
and We don't necessarily, we shouldn't be the cheapest around if it's costing our existing tax rate increase.
yeah, and certainly it's, we did look at some increases in building permit fees, 2 years ago. And certainly you want to keep them competitive with, your neighbors. I think some of the challenge you have right now is that with, 2024, our building permit fees were down quite a bit. Our hope is that with the lower interest rate this year and stuff, we can start getting.
Yeah.
Our revenues exceeding our expenses.
Yeah.
We do have some funds in our building permit reserve of about 15,000 or so, but certainly it's not what we would rather have, because under the municipal act, it says that, the intention is that your building permit fees should cover all your expenses for your building department.
Yeah.
A lot of municipalities face the same thing where we just can't get that right balance. And then, to the other point too about summer camps is, certainly there's ways that we can look at increasing revenues for day camps, and that is hiring more staff so that we can have more people or more kids join, right? But it's having that right balance. And I know we discussed it, last year is there is a cost to offer recreation programs, and certainly it's a service we want to provide to our residents. And sometimes council needs to be comfortable enough on some of the services we provide, we take a loss. What are you comfortable at losing, right? And if it's, $20,000 and you're comfortable with losing that, but getting families and people into day camps, then that's the cost of doing business, right? So.
I was surprised to see that posted on our website. When we're taking a $20,000 loss each year, approximately. And it's posted on our website with the cost to be. I don't think that should have been there.
Yeah.
We decide on the cost.
Yeah.
So why was it posted?
The posting for,
Summer camp.
Summer camp at 175.
yeah, so that's what we discussed last year at budget time, or in the fall last year. There was
Yeah,
a report
yeah,
brought to
yeah.
council.
But
But we didn't have this problem either, so.
No, No,
So I suggest we take that off the site and, till we get these meetings done, because, I think it was 175 child. Again, we're sitting on a $20,000 deficit, so let's jack it up so we're making some money, or at least breaking even.
But yeah, for daycare, that's really cheap.
Yeah, so,
but I think also to that point though, is if you jack it up to 200 or 225, it's not going to bring this number down to what you have today. Like to me, it doesn't
no, but
affect
it
that.
shows where,
Yes,
get all these little nickels, you're gonna
Yeah.
gain some ground.
Yeah.
So,
and that was the point of bringing it to council in the fall last year, the programming recreation is so that the year before, we were very late in getting that out to the residents for programming. Because this is the time now that families are looking about, okay, what am I gonna do in the summertime for my kids? So that's when we brought the report to council agreed at that time, that 175, because we increased it by $25. Council was comfortable with that at that time.
yes, they were,
Right.
but not now, because they got the budget, so.
Yeah.
Let's take it off the website, that we find out what we want to charge, but I recommend, I think council agrees, we charge whatever, give us a sum that's gonna make us break even on that. Because, if we were sitting in a very good budget, I'd say, okay, we're gonna lose $20,000 on that, gee, we may look at it in a different way. But, I think we gotta revisit that. That's my opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels on council.
I feel that way. And, for our building fees, I think because we're looking at a big influx of housing, we want to make sure we don't do like what we did with Carlton Mushrooms, where we didn't have the appropriate fee in place and lost a pile of money.
So that's the change that we made 2 years ago, that if there's something similar that comes up again, it's actually a $40,000 permit fee that would be,
Yes.
Yeah.
But we haven't done that for houses, have we?
well, houses would just fall in line the same as per square foot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Karen looks at it every year as far as in comparison to our neighbors, and I believe we were almost in line with our neighbors when it comes to the residential and stuff. Where you make your money, of course, is your commercial, industrial and all that kind of stuff. So, our hope is that this year might be a different year with people starting to build more now with the interest rates down and everything like that, but tariffs could play a part of it as well too, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else on revenue, council?
I guess not.
I'm watching you too, Councillor Bowman, just to make sure if your hand goes up too, so.
I'll yell.
Okay. All right, so there's nothing else for that. We've got the library board here. You've got copies of their budget, and I'll throw it over to Gary and Corwin and let them move forward with it.
Good day, everyone. Back again for another round of budgets here. So I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at the 2025 budget proposal from the library. I'll explain this for the ones that maybe are familiar with that. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, yeah, I will.
We'd like, before we begin, to introduce the new CEO for Augusta Township Public Library, who will be Corey's training right now.
Yeah, great.
I'm retiring at the end of March, and so Corey will be in charge of the library as of the end of March.
Congratulations.
We're delighted.
That's great.
Thank you.
I was going to do it. Okay, just so people understand the budget, the gray areas you see under township funding, those are fees the township pays on our behalf. They do not give us the money to pay for those services, but we show it on here just so the council can get a good idea of what the real cost is for running the library. Okay, everything else is costs that we pay for based on our operating grant from the township and the grant that we get from the Ontario government, which has not changed in 25 years. 30 years? Yeah. 13,297. Okay, we start at the top there. I show 2024 approved, the actual, and then the 2025 proposed. So the operating revenues, we get donations, but that's a moving target year to year. last year we did well. We got a lot of donations to the library and they get tax receipts for that. Interest has been good with interest rates high. We have, what is it? We're getting like 6%, five,
plus 2%.
prime plus 2 on our bank account. So, but as interest rates come down, that's gonna come down, so we put in a projection of $1,000. Operations total in there, what we kind of bring in from different programs. Provincial operating grant there, and then we get the township funding. The first thing is the audit. The audit has traditionally been 11, 12, 13, very small increments. This year with the new auditors, it went up 538%. So we're wondering, is that an error or is the real cost?
It will go down this year. It was basically because of the new auditors last year. It was some of the new costs and additional costs, but that number will go down for next year, for 2020.
So I wasn't sure what to put in, so I put 7,000 in.
That's fine.
Also, historically, KPMG did not bill separately. We were billed one bill. So that $1,200 each year was just us.
Trying to break it down
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
divvy it
So
out.
this, last year, we
Okay.
actually got a specific bill for the library.
We also want to comment on the auditors. We were not impressed with the auditors.
Yeah.
They were very unprofessional. We gave them all the data they needed. Here it was left at the township. They kind of skimmed through it. They left it. Then Angie had to field a whole bunch of questions that were already in the boxes and stuff. They didn't seem to know how to audit properly for at least the not-for-profit
Yeah.
and that, so.
So those comments have already been, as part of our debrief, have been brought to the auditors, and they certainly will be changing their
Yeah.
techniques for this upcoming budget, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Recreation equipment, we now have that. The council decided a couple of years ago to move it into our operating budget. So there you see grass cutting of what was reported, insurance, that's going up steady every year. Legal fees is money we earmark in case we need to. We haven't used it in a couple of years, but we have in the past when we get into some issues. So it's just an earmark. If we don't use it, council keeps that money. And that payroll services, that's the township does the payroll for us because we do not have the software to do payroll. So we estimate what it costs. And it's a percentage of the payroll. Then snow removal, township does that for us now. It's not contracted out. Wages and benefits. The reason it's up this year is because I believe in the fall, council approved that Corey's hours will go from 23 to 30. We just, the extra work with the recreation equipment, the librarian needs 30 hours a week. So that's why that has jumped. Then water testing, and that's done by the township on our behalf. So what we're requesting for an operating grant is in blue, 39,879. So it was 37,903. So it's up about $2,000, not quite 1,900. But then the township total funding, so that adds everything together, and basically it's 184.05. And that's an estimate, but it looks like the audit might be less and a few things. So that's probably overestimate.
Absolutely.
By quite a bit. So you can get into the operating revenues, how we did here, administration and programming. We didn't have a bookkeeper for several months, so those expenses, Angie ended up doing a lot of it and myself. So now we have a bookkeeper again, so those costs are back in line. The audit, recreation, capital expenses. We didn't have any in 2024, but we are going to dip into the capital reserve here. We had roof repairs and stuff that we had to do. So we'll talk about that a bit later. Computing total, because of Windows 2010 is being sunset this year. We had to buy 2 computers in last year's budget and 2 computers this year. So that went up a bit. We purchased the computers, so that should come down in future years because computers are good for 3, 4, 5 years. Donation related expenses, these are some of the expenses that we have to, it's like other programs, if you receive donations, is you have to spend a certain percentage of that and put it back into programs for people. So those are our expenses last year. DVD pool, we have stopped. We have what we have in stock ourselves, but nobody's selling DVDs anymore. Cleaning service, that's up. Ellen was very sick last year for a number of months and she took a bunch of vacations, so her fees were down, but we estimate them back up again this year. And we had to give her a bit of a raise. She's not been kept up to what she should be paid. And she's very timid and doesn't come forward, but she has asked to bring her back up in line to what her normal fees are. Electricity, we're not too bad. We were basically on budget, so we left it at $3,000. We didn't increase it this year. Grass cutting was the township, insurance, the township, propane. We had a problem with propane, we went over, but we found out thermostat wasn't set correctly. But recently, as of yesterday,
They changed some of the lights. They were gonna come back to change the rest.
and
So
we
it's
got the
not done yet.
thermostat done.
They didn't do the thermostat yesterday, but it is
Okay.
on the work order.
So that was part of the program the township added us into, and one of the things is the programmable thermostat. We can do remote with phones and stuff, so that's gonna be a big help, so we can monitor and change that. Thermostat was set at 70, 71 degrees, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Instead of at times the library is closed, bring the temperature down. So that's something we had to absorb, but I did not increase the budget. I left it at 6,500 because I think with the thermostat, we can maintain it. So we can meet that target. Repairs and maintenance, I left it at 1,000. That's kind of a moving thing. We only spent 743, but we've been seeing a few things that we had to fix, so we're leaving it at 1,000, but we're not increasing it. Security monitoring has gone up a little bit, so we bumped that up to 600. It had been 450, 470 for the longest time. Telephone fax, pretty cheap, $300 a year, keeping it the same. Bell's gonna keep us at the same rate. Facilities, 25,000, that's the total of all facilities. Legal, that's only if required. Library reading materials, those are all the books, ebooks and stuff like that. That's moved up about $1,000 because now with the ebook program, we're gonna have to buy or lease, I don't know what the correct term is, some electronic books ourselves because the consortium has cut way back on the number of ebooks they put out, and the waiting lists are like 3 months. So people like the ebooks, so we're gonna have to invest a little bit more money in ebooks, and then the ebooks are reserved entirely for Augusta Township Library patrons. So that'll be a good thing. Roofing repairs. So this is the reserve fund. So right now, the township puts in $5,000 a year. The township holds the reserve fund on our behalf. And then as we need reserve fund use, we'll make a request. So if council still puts in another 5,000, and I think Shannon puts in so much a month and builds it up. At the end of 2025, we'll have 14,299, but in that total is, how much did 57?
$700.
Yeah, whatever that was. So that includes the, that amount taken
We
off it.
applied for a Trillium grant to have that work done, and we weren't successful, so
Yeah.
it was necessary repairs.
Yeah.
It would wait.
Yeah, couldn't wait. We had to get it done. So with that expense and the 5,000 this year, the reserve fund should be sitting at 14,299. And then membership fees paid, 250 is basically gone up $20. Payroll, professional wages and benefits, that's the expenses. Then if you're on the back page, this is special revenues expenditures. Any grants that we receive, like Trillium Foundation, well, we didn't receive one, so it's 0. Souls Connectivity Grant, we get, we approved it in 2024 for 19, but we got 1308. So that is a moving target. So we just said, "Look, we're probably gonna get 1310, we might get less, don't know." So basically, it's like an in and out. So we get the revenue in, special revenues, and then special expenditures, it shows us and we have to spend it, okay? So those shows the grants that we typically go after. And if there's new ones that we find, I guess we have a new program with the township for finding new grant money. So if we find a new one, we'll add that into this category.
We had one this year for $500 from the Dyslexia Association to
Ah.
purchase phonics materials and.
Yeah.
Executive programming materials. But that's, like Gary said, that's an in and out. We get the grant and we spend it, so.
We have to spend 100% of it on the intended expense. So that's our budget. Any questions from council?
The one question I had, with the provincial operating grant, have you ever gone together with, say, Roma or AMO? Because the conservation authorities, they've been frozen for the last couple of years, but now they've partnered with AMO, and AMO was fighting on their behalf to get that freeze off of it. So have you ever gone with AMO or Roma and tried to get that increase? Because that would also save the township's money.
This is
So municipality
all
should be.
managed by the Ontario Library Service.
Well, it's the
Correct?
lobbying arm of it is the Federation of Public Libraries.
Correct.
But you
And
should,
we're members of that, and that's part of what the membership fees that Gary pointed out are our membership fees for that Federation. And they have been lobbying the ministry like forever. Part of the problem, Adrian,
yeah.
is
Yeah.
that
Partner with AMO or Roma to try and get your,
So who is AMO and Roma?
okay.
Who are?
Well, Roma is the Rural Municipal Association and AMO is the Ontario Municipal
I
Association.
don't know, they would have to work in conjunction with the Library Federation.
I think the Federation's been lobbying everybody. The big problem with the provincial grant is that when it was first done, it was bundled with pay equity. So there were, like Thunder Bay Library gets $340,000 a year from the province for pay equity. We get 700
Yeah, something like that.
as a portion of our grant. So if they redid it, they'd have to rationalize it between all the libraries and somehow maintain that funding for the big libraries that have got to depend on it. And improve it for the smaller libraries that. So they keep saying every year they're gonna review it. And then they look at it and think. They don't want anything to do with that nest of snakes, so I
Yeah.
don't, you know, it's.
It's a, once you start involving pay equity in part of that grant, that it opens up a can of worms.
Every once in a while, the province will come up with a grant. To sort of try and add on to the operating grant. But the problem with those are that they're earmarked for certain purpose. So we might need a new air conditioner, but we can't spend that grant money on that. We have to spend it on computers, or we have to spend it on French materials, or like they will designate what we can spend that grant on, so.
Yeah.
It's a mess, and every library in Ontario agrees that it's a mess.
Yeah, I know, like, I mean, when I was on the library board with you, we had
Exactly.
that same conversation. That was
Every year.
8, 9 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's what I say. I wonder if you can partner with somebody to get more pressure on the government or.
We're not allowed as a public, just an entity ourselves, but our library
Federation.
federation can partner. Maybe Angie could send or Corey can send an email out, say, hey, have you tried these other organizations to partner with? To try
Yeah,
and,
it wouldn't be bad to get more people involved in this, maybe more voices, and they'll pay some attention.
yeah,
Because most people probably don't know. And then if
Yeah.
they've seen that, that's been like that for 30 years, they'd be shocked.
Yeah,
30 years.
yeah, it's.
Not a penny increase.
It's based on a per capita or a plus pay equity, and per capita is like $2.
It's like everything else, they just want to download everything.
Yeah.
Well, and they got
They
it
do
on
it.
their library service too a few years ago, so.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, a couple questions. This is for staff mostly. I thought I seen somewhere in the book that there was money allocated to the library for East Trust. Am I thinking of something else?
No, so that's coming out of the reserve for this year. So as Gary said, is every year, $5,000 gets put into a reserve fund for the library. This year, they had to take some money out to do some roof repairs of about 5,700. So that's gonna come from the tax reserve or from their reserve.
And so their total was 192,602 compared to our 173,217. Now, I realize they're coming today with the report.
Yep.
But,
There'll be a few changes.
that will make a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see it's mostly in wages.
Correct. Yeah.
But the operating grant itself was 39,879, so it's not.
Not a huge increase.
It's
No,
just those other expenses that the township pays on our behalf, like. Yeah,
Yep.
they've gone up, a few of them.
yeah, and it was determined at one of the board meetings in the fall about the servicing for the library. That, 23 hours wasn't enough and we had to increase it to the 30, and, certainly had that discussion with council. And, it's becoming more than just a library, right? It's more of a social thing and programming and all that stuff. So that's why there was a need to increase the hours.
There's a lot more compliance in the job too,
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend a lot more time doing reports for the province and applying for, different things. So than there was 30 years ago.
Exactly right.
Oh, I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, well, the one good note is every month you're getting more members.
Yes.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
membership is going up all the time. So it shows that the library is important to the resident.
And we're seeing a lot more young families too, which is nice, but I think that's happening everywhere. People my age are selling their big houses and to families, and I've seen a lot more young.
Yeah, and I think with the upcoming tariffs and possible recession or whatever happens, I think we're gonna see more families have to resort to maybe the recreation and equipment that we offer to try and keep their costs down. Our IT services, we offer it for free.
Yeah.
You'll see a swing back even more usage. Any other questions?
Nobody? No? I guess not. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope
You
you
want
get-
to stick around for the fireworks?
No. I have enough, I'm dealing with the federal government on US and Canadian side for cybersecurity, so I've got a mess in my hands. They don't know their own regulations. They're phoning me, says, where did you find those regulations? I'm like, oh gosh, you don't even know your own regulations.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yep.
Have a good year.
Congratulations again, Corey.
Thank you very much.
Tripping here.
Corey, you got my email? When did you send this one? I wanted to check my. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll be in on Saturday, but I'll, sure that I do get it and I follow up. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Now.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, we left off the council. There's the expenditure.
Yeah, so we'll go to the expenses and we'll just kind of go through page by page and we'll touch on the key highlights and, if there's any questions, we can stop at each section and then we'll continue to go from there. As we get into the bigger budgets with fire and bylaw and public works and recreation, there'll be a PowerPoint presentation that the senior staff will be presenting as well too, so. So first, council, so not much change there. We've got the honorariums. The other is your conferences, so we've got basically Roma in there and the AMO conference. And then there's, included in that is your per diem that you get when you go to your meetings, as well as some other miscellaneous funds in there for certain events that you attend, whether it's, the MPB breakfast or something like that. There's the transfer to reserve, so that's the money that we put in every year of $7,500 for the election. So once the election starts or is done, we continue to put $7,500 in every year. And then by the time our next election comes, we've got enough money in our reserves to fund doing the election. So that's what that's for. Any questions on the council?
For the conferences, is there a limit to how many conferences each council member goes to still?
So we have in here right now, we put in 2. Cause based when I sent out the email a while ago, it seems like the 2 were the kind of what everybody wanted to go to, which was Roma and AMO. AMO was in Ottawa and of course Roma was in Toronto, so doesn't seem like anybody wants to go to Good Roads or whatever. Ontario East, you know, certainly, I think Adrian, you're the only one that really wanted to go to that. But certainly that's up to council on how they want to do it. I think before it was a policy on 2 or 1, maybe back in the day, but
Policy.
was there no policy?
It's a limit
Okay.
to 8 though. Or was that the previous council with the old mayor?
That was just the mayor.
Okay. So we do have the 2 in here, which are the AMO and Roma, which are very well attended. We get a lot of the ministries there and we've had some good success on doing delegations at both of those as well too, right? So those are the only 2 that are in there right now for council, unless council wants to add more funds in there for more conferences.
But I would like to propose that we freeze our honorariums for the next 2 years, for this year and next year. Just, it's more symbolic. It won't really reduce our budget anything, but it'll show the residents we're doing something unless council wanted to do a decrease. But I would think at least we do a freeze and, for AMO, because it's in Ottawa, we could drive back and forth. That's an option if we wanted to reduce. I don't know how much that would save us, but we drive together, it doesn't cost that much
No.
in the township vehicle.
Yeah, it might save you
Well, even if-
5,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Cause you're just not gonna pay for the accommodations, right? So.
You're not sleeping in my room.
County's paying your.
I know.
No, we drive back and forth in township vehicle.
Okay.
Just saying. I mean, that's if we, you know, depends on how much we wanna shave off the budget.
Yep.
So if we're staying and not increasing for council, then it's not gonna take any percentage off the budget. I know how it looks. It does look good.
Yeah, from a CPI perspective, if council wants to freeze their honorariums, you'd be saving about probably $2,700.
That's not even a percent.
No, no.
I don't know how everybody else does.
No, it's more symbolic, but it does show the residents, we're doing our part.
I think the only thing I would caution on too is though is absolutely, I don't disagree with you, is if you get your honorariums too far behind, then 3 or 4 years down the road, you'll be looking at like a 5, 6, 7% increase to get them back up, right?
So I just say a 2-year freeze. Just the rest of this term.
That's certainly up to council and what council wants to do.
Something the members and councils are, there's a wide spread between councils too, on what they get paid.
Yeah.
In the counties, so. You know. What everybody wants to do. What's the feeling?
There's also a difference between what I would make and Adrian makes and you make,
Yes.
sitting on different committees that we don't get access to that.
Mhm.
For counties.
Yeah, speak your piece.
I'm fine with freezing it. I mean, again, it's not gonna do anything, but I think it's symbolic gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my, I mean, it's, comes down to whether others can justify it. And if it's like Shannon said, too much to bring it back up to par, whether it's for the next council, whether we're on it or not. So, but, I mean, if that's just symbolic, I mean, anything that we can do to kind of make this pill a little bit easier to swallow and show that, hey, you know, I mean, we're affected by it either way.
Yeah.
But I have no issues with doing a 2-year freeze.
Michelle?
I agree with the deputy mayor for the freeze of, our honorariums for 2 years. Again, I think it's kind of showing our due diligence. On paper, it won't look like much, but that's all I have to
Thank you.
say.
Tanya?
Sure.
You know, totally agreeable.
I don't totally agree, but
Big majority then.
Yeah.
Anything else on your council? So is the direction from council too in regard to AMO to look at driving back and forth then? Because I believe the deputy clerk has booked the rooms already, so
They can be canceled. We're still within that
yeah,
timeframe.
so.
I mean, the downside with that is some of the evening events.
Yeah.
Networking.
The networking. I mean, it could definitely be done. It just needs some late nights and really early morning. Don't have to worry about weather and all, at least I hope not. But, I mean, it's doable. I mean, it's more fiscally responsible. But then there's a bigger picture too. There's gas, which is negligible wear and tear on a vehicle. Parking might be tricky because sometimes depending where you're at, you might get a cheaper rate if you're staying the entire time your vehicle doesn't move, but you're going in and out. So, I mean, a lot of different things. I'm not against I used to do it every day for work, so driving back and forth to Ottawa is nothing. It just comes down to what everybody thinks about the networking side of it, you know.
I got my opinion.
Anybody else?
I'll just add to Councillor Faith, is you're absolutely right. There is a benefit of having the ability to network with, especially at AMO, you get a lot of ministers and stuff there, and ministers are staying there as well too, right? So you get opportunities to connect with them after the events. And sometimes there is some events that go into a little later at night, right? So there, certainly, although it's $5,000, I look at it in a way as, is that a good value for money? And I think at times when you're talking to ministers and stuff like that, there is good value for money. So,
I mean, last year, we had some good connections at some of the after hours events.
right. But certainly it's up to council on where they want to go. And certainly I will just put this out there to council is I understand how you guys are looking at trying to cut funds. But be cautious on kind of looking at every little thing because we could be here then for the next 72 hours. And I think you don't want to hamper anything, your ability to network and do other things like that, right? So just, I know we all want to get the numbers down as much as we can, but just, you don't want to impact your ability to do your job as council and collaborate and network with people too, so.
For that conference, we're staying 3 nights. Do you need that special rate to do the 3 nights, or could you do 2 nights? Because the first night, you can't.
We actually weren't able to get the AMO rate. We were able to get a discounted rate because it was issued during the hotel. But you could cancel on it if you needed to.
Yeah, I don't know, would you still get the rate if you did 2 nights instead of 3 nights? The first
I'm
night,
not sure. I'd have to.
yeah, we could look into that.
I mean, we got from now to August, because
That's
rather
different than that.
than a week before to take a look at it. So.
Yeah.
All right, there's no other, let's move on.
Whoa.
Oh, Michelle, I see Michelle's hand waving.
I agree with the fact that I think we've already booked it. We should leave it for this year. And again, there is a lot of value in being able to do that networking and stuff like that afterwards. And then, the drive home and stuff like that. So I agree with the honorariums, but I think we should keep the AMO conference as it is.
Okay, good. All right, so let's, what's the next one?
Administration is their next one. So a few things I'll just note to council is you'll see our health and safety budget is being maintained the same as last year as we continue to go through our different phases. So currently right now, we're doing phase 2, so there'll be some more training that needs to be done by staff and council over the next few months. Professional services is up a little bit. I'm trying to think of what's in that professional services budget.
Lawyers.
We just put out a piece.
Oh, that's our audit fees? No, that's our audit fees and everything like that, so that is covered through that. Conferences and dues are increased with our new clerk coming on board next week. There might be some additional training, especially with elections coming up, that our deputy clerk and clerk will have to attend and maintain. Postage and stuff, there was an increase by Canada Post, so that was about 25% increase, so we've adjusted for that. Computer expenses is probably the biggest increase, and we were quite under budget last year, but this covers everything from all the software across the board, so Karen's CGIS, John's GPS stuff and everything that he has for his vehicles, our Munisoft financial system, all that kind of stuff. So this covers everything in there, as well as some upgrades to some of our laptops, Brock IT and everything. So that's a catch-all. Legal expenses, certainly we can decrease that number, but at the end of the day, we can decrease it, but if we have to spend on lawyers, then we have to spend on lawyers, right? So, and then the last piece is the admin transfer to reserve. So that's our 2.5% contribution to our asset management reserve, which was asset management policy was approved by council in 2023, I believe. So that's certainly there for council. With the 173, it gives us about $380,000 or $390,000 roughly in our asset management reserve. So certainly that's another option if council wanted to look at that from the perspective of the vehicle. That's what the asset management reserve is there for, but it would then deplete it back down to zero again. So other than that, happy to answer any questions on the admin side.
Yeah, well, that's the one, well, I have a question on computer expenses, but you pretty well answered that. one.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like computers, but they're expensive. But, admin to transfer to reserves, I think we can save 1% there. I think it would be fiscally responsible this year to lower. You don't put money in a cookie jar when you have no money. So
That's
my
certainly,
thought.
that's certainly up to council on what council wants to do, and
What is it you said? What'd you say?
To lower that transfer to reserves by 65,000, which would bring us down to another 1%. Now, you may not want to lower it that much, maybe only 0.5%, but
that's certainly
I
up to
think we
council.
shouldn't increase.
Yep, that's certainly up to council, what they want to do. And certainly from our perspective, you know how we feel when it comes to reserves, we want to continue to increase it, but certainly I understand the position that council's in as well too, so.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The contract services, the new AV system upgrade. I know I was one of the ones that wanted, to do online and stuff like that. Is that something we really need to do, or can we get through another year with what we have, or? I don't know. I'm not a computer person, so.
Are you talking about the capital component, Michelle?
No, in the administration. Under the computer expenses, contract services, it says council chamber AV system upgrade.
That's under, yeah.
Yeah, that's under capital now. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Sure, we can talk about that when we get to capital for sure. I'll make a note of that, Councilor Bowman.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? You can say, you make the suggestion for reserves.
Well,
I know there's some of us don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, my suggestion would be then we lower it by half, to lower our by 0.5%.
They can make note of it, but I think we're not gonna vote on it until.
No.
Yeah, so we can make notes as council is making decisions, and then we can do a wrap up at the very end if council wants, and then look at giving us direction on where you guys want to go. So right now, Deputy Winans, you're proposing a 1% decrease of $65,000 of the admin.
No, I'd say, let's leave it the way it was, 143, 120, rather than increase it.
No, 173.20.
No, yeah, but the previous year
Last
was
year.
143.20.
Okay, so you want to maintain the
Maintain.
current, okay, maintain current rate,
Yeah.
okay.
Don't increase it by 30,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Next one is your donations in cemeteries. So cemeteries are basically for the general maintenance, grass cutting. In your donations, so donations includes your Maple View Lodge contribution, your Sherwood Park Manor contribution, our new contribution this year with the Prescott Family Health Team of $7,500. There's $1,500, which are incidentals in there, which is when we do parades and stuff like that, you know, we get candy and all that kind of stuff like that. So that's in there for that. And then there's the $6,000, which is the kind of what we've always put in for donations of 6,000. What I would propose is if council's good with leaving the 6,000, we'll do is we'll bring a report in at a future council meeting with the list of the donations that we've given in the past. We just got one again from the figure skating yesterday that we've got as well too. And then council can allocate based on what they see in front of them. But today it's more about are you comfortable with as far as the amount?
And council still has to decide on people that have come for donations that we haven't accepted or got back
Exactly.
to.
There was the delegation from the Shakespeare that came, the last council meeting that they're looking at probably coming. We've got, the food bank that's given us a letter. We've got a couple, exactly right. So South Granville that comes every year as well. So those are some, so it's more about what kind of pocket of money do you want to put aside? And then we'll bring back a report on that. But 6 is what it's always been. I'll leave that to council.
I'm comfortable leaving it at 6. Yeah.
Everybody's good with?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next one is your fire, and give me a second here, I'll throw the,
My law first.
sorry, bylaw first, yeah, we'll do bylaw, so that would be the next page. Good job. Yeah, the next page after fire. 2 seconds here.
You want to click on one of your means like it?
You just tell me next page and it's fine.
How's my computer?
Yeah, you were reading.
Can you see that, Councillor Bowman?
I said yes,
Okay. Is there a different view we can do or no?
Oh my God.
Here.
magnify slide, bro. Oh.
I think if you hit the hide presenter view, then you get rid of the notes on the side.
Okay, I'll throw that over to Rob then. Just let me know whenever.
Everybody ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present council with the Protective Services 2025 budgets for Augusta Fire Rescue and Bylaw Enforcement. Our officer team, Deputy Chief, and I worked extremely hard to present you and our residents with a budget that reflects the realities of today's costs, inflations, and regulatory requirements, while making every effort to provide current services with a minimal tax increase. Okay. So I'd like to begin with bylaw enforcement, and firstly, just give a quick year-end review. So we ended 2024 revenue with $30,000 in revenue, which was a surplus of 18. This was due mostly to associated livestock costs. You'll see as I go through livestock costs
go out to the residents as they have issues, but then we get the money back from OMAFRA, so. Next slide. In operations, we received money from our MAFRA, that's again, that in and out, to offset the livestock costs, resulting in a deficit of 12,000, but was offset by the surplus in revenues. Capital, 2024 had no capital, because we, at the time, were sharing bylaw services with Town of Prescott. For total bylaw expenditures, we were 12,769 over budget again, due to livestock loss. We paid livestock loss at operating, but received the money back. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see that all changes because when we put it all together, our net bylaw cost in 2024 resulted in a surplus of $6,000. Any quick questions on that, Jerry? Again, I was gonna say it'd be just a quick review just to show where we are. All right, moving on to the budget for this year. Our revenue in 2025 has been raised slightly due to the increased higher livestock losses in 2024. We also look at a few areas where we could increase revenue, if we were directed to be a little bit more proactive in some areas and go out and look for some issues, especially if they're safety related. Operating has increased largely due to salaries and benefits with the new position that was approved by council. And capital has also increased, again, due to purchasing of a new vehicle for the position of our bylaw enforcement officer. And same with overall expenditures. And our net bylaw costs will increase again due to the hiring of our new position. But again, I'd like to remind council that the majority of the increases in this year's budget are mostly due to the new position, and some of the costs are for the sake of argument, one-time cost, for example, the 50% charge for the truck. We know we won't have that next year, so 35,000 for that. So next slide.
Good, that one or next one?
Yeah, next one. Next slide, next one. So our goals for 2025 is, I've instructed when we've talked about this, we want to make sure we're answering all residents' requests at a minimum, our maximum, of 48 hours. Within 48 hours, we've contacted them, we've gotten the story, and we can, go on from there. And the average close time is 14 days. A lot of times we give people 30 days to comply with some stuff, but there's other items that are very, very quick to fix, so. And I've also worked with or talked with our bylaw officer that we really want to use our visits and social media to educate the public a little bit more on our bylaws, and maybe weekly have a different bylaw that we talk about on social media and stuff like that. So that's basically it for bylaw, unless there's any questions.
No, nothing for bylaw? Second. Sure. Okay, so next we'll go back to the fire department and we'll pull up.
Trying to make sure there was pictures in there. All right, for the fire department, if you go to the next slide, again, we're gonna just start off with a little bit of financial review. So revenues ended up last year with a $13,000 surplus versus budget, mostly due to motor vehicle accidents and revenue received using the Firemark program that was introduced last year. We actually brought in approximately $13,000 of Firemark. It is a program that charges insurance companies for fire department costs while operating at insured perils. Operating also saw a year-end surplus of 43,000, or minus 4.5%. This is mostly attributed to the average emergency response. Although emergency responses didn't go down, the average amount of time we spent at them did. So because our firefighters are hourly paid, it ended up in less wages. It also honorarium costs, and we no longer have Prescott responding to emergency calls resulting in savings. So we stopped Prescott from going to calls such as hydro lines down, gas leaks outside,
because it's not time critical to get there right away. Carbon monoxide calls with no symptoms showing, and that helped reduce the costs of Prescott covering our southeast corner. In capital and reserves costs came in higher than budgeted by approximately 36,000. Late in the year of 2024, we were trending towards a surplus, but we experienced a major failure with our breathing air compressor, which council is aware of, which needed to be replaced. Overall expenditures in 24 resulted in a surplus of just over $7,000, or negative 4%. 0.4, sorry. And I'm happy to announce for net, on the next slide, we show a surplus of $20,000 or negative 1.5% last year for 2024. Questions with review? Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to the budget for 2025. So we're predicting revenue will be down slightly. This is due to not transferring money, or not slightly, significantly, sorry. This is due to not transferring money from reserves as we did in 2024 for a new tanker. There are some avenues council may want to consider to increase revenue if that's council's choice. Those being a charge for burn permits, which many local municipalities are considering and some have implemented. And also a proactive enforcement of our open burning bylaw. Operating costs will increase this year mostly due to salaries, benefits, and an increase in transfer to reserves. Salaries have increased for all staff, including our firefighters, by the CPI. However, it does not include the $1 per hour wage increase for firefighters that we were asked by council to investigate. Our coordinator was given the extra responsibility of health and safety for the municipality, resulting in a slightly higher wage. And we also hired a new bylaw enforcement officer, which is for bylaw, we already paid 40% of the wage. So it'll actually end up like a 10% or a slight hit, but in fire, we have to take the whole 50%. For which the fire department is 50%. We hope to hire 6 firefighters this year. 2 of them are to replace firefighters that have already left. And it takes 3 years to fully train a firefighter, and turnover of firefighters is normally high on part-time departments due to multiple reasons. Looking at our personnel, we believe there's a good possibility that we'll be losing another 3 to 5 in the next year or 2. Because of this, we hope to hire a small number of firefighters every year. This year's hiring would target firefighters out of Station 2. That's the North Augusta area. Currently, the number of firefighters in North Augusta area is 16. We have had to supplement Station 2 with firefighters from the Station 1 area. And although that helps with warm bodies for stuff like equipment checks and cleanups, it does not help our response times. Our firefighter turnout for responses during the day for Station 2 is very low. And Mutual Aid call in Prescott just this week for a large structure fire, the initial number of firefighters from Station 2 was 2 firefighters that well responded. We need to complete a targeted hiring for firefighters in North Augusta area to maintain an appropriate level of service that meets our establishing and regulating bylaw, our residents' expectations, and more importantly, protects residents and their property. Augusta Fire has been transferring money to reserves for vehicles and major purchases for many years, well before I became chief. And in 2024, we transferred 157. In 2025, we'd like to increase that by 24,500. And I'll discuss revenue or reserves, a little bit more in depth in a future slide. So capital and reserves, spending has decreased by a large amount. This is due to not purchasing any major fire apparatus this year. The loan for Fire Station 1 is up for renewal, and we're estimating that to increase that by $20,000, just over $20,000 to $240,000. Included in this is also 50% of the new bylaw fire inspection vehicle, replacement of personal protective equipment, which is bunker gear, which is legislated. It's not our rule, it's legislated to be replaced every 10 years. And the purchase of a set of extrication tools in North Augusta, or at Station 2 for North Augusta, which includes $28,000 in donations from our Firefighter Association and Chevron Construction. So the next, I'd like to talk a little bit about reserves, because I realize, looking through our budget, this is one of the areas that council may be considering to reduce. I would like to take, our plan, is an educated estimate. This is our plan. I think I present this every year. It's an educated estimate based on many factors and is continually being updated based on financial conditions and costs. And I must say that this plan has worked flawlessly and as intended. Monies have been placed in reserves for this purpose long before it was cheap. Putting money away for these large purchases is good financial planning. I don't believe many people could purchase a new vehicle outright today without putting money away until you can purchase it or finance it and face extra costs of interest. That is why we have placed money in reserves for decades. On this slide, you'll see a lot of information, and I would just like to explain it a little bit so council can understand how we get to our request. So there'll be some red arrows if you just click again. You'll see that column notes the age of the vehicle upon replacement. So remembering the fire underwriters state that a fire apparatus in small communities such as Augusta must be removed from frontline service at 20 years of age. If not, fire insurance rates may, for our residents, increase substantially. And then we could also need to lose our tanker shuttle accreditation, which could also result in even higher insurance rates. Okay. Next, we have the estimated cost of replacement. I update this column every time I become aware of a price of a new apparatus purchased by departments in our area. So for example, when Prescott bought their new pumper, I found out how much it cost and I update the spreadsheet, right? So I'm dealing with as close to current numbers as I absolutely can. Okay. Next, the amount of money to be placed in reserves. Next. And I've also included the estimated revenues of selling the apparatus being replaced. We used to like to donate our trucks to Newfoundland or other locations, but I believe that selling them is much better. We've actually made $60,000, I believe, off of each of our last trucks for selling them. And lastly, we have the total amount in reserves. You'll notice that these amounts vary as money is transferred in or moved out for purchases. Sometimes the total is very low, other times it's very high. But using the long-term planning, we can purchase fire apparatus and equipment without major impacts to tax rates. If appropriate funds are not put into reserve this year, the cost would be shifted to another year and possibly another council. For example, if funds are not transferred to reserves this year, the fire department would be asking for close to $390,000 next year, which would be an approximate 6% increase to the entire township budget just to continue to build reserves. It would continue to compound each year until a truck needs to be purchased. Ending all transfers to reserves for a fire apparatus in the future would require funds to be borrowed and adding the cost of interest or having to complete an outright purchase, which would result in approximately 11 to 19% increase to the entire municipal budget just for a fire apparatus. Okay. So we look at our.
You want to go back to that reserve?
Sure.
There you go.
And your flawless plan, it is flawless, like minus 7,000.
Correct.
All right, that's not acceptable. And you can't drain a reserve. And hopefully we can put something, a bylaw or resolution together after the budget's done, saying at least a third has to remain in there. But, yes, you got your new equipment, new truck, whatever it was, but the effect it had on the rest of the reserves. And you're managing good, Rob, don't get me wrong. But the overall effect is wrong.
Which I agree with you. We don't want to go down to nothing either. However, these reserves are put in there for a specific purpose, which I do understand. Council can move things around as much as they want. But for 30 years or whatever it is, these have been put in for a specific purpose, and we often see the ebbs and flows based on that. But to keep the additional or to continue to put money into our reserves, we would have had to increase that over the years, which would have resulted in higher tax rate increases in previous years to that. So I agree. I don't want to see it down to zero either.
No, and I think that's the problem right there, so.
Well, and I think if you look at, the next 3 or 4 years based on his schedule, when we get to 2028 and 2029 and he's purchasing a truck and then I believe that's a tanker, the 700,000.
Truck 3 is just a half-ton truck.
Okay, and then the 700,000 Rescue 9.
That's
is rescue.
Yeah.
We still end up with, $460,000 in our reserve.
Which is good.
But
it didn't happen in 24.
Right, but I think part of that is, to Rob's point, is that we can add more to our contribution to reserves so that we don't result in that $7,000 deficit.
Yeah.
But that's a tax rate increase, right? And
Or you wait a year. or the purchase of that truck waits a year. But every time it comes in front of council, it seems, oh, I gotta have it right away. They're making the very last one on the line, you know, this sort of thing. Great salesman, but we gotta take things serious moving forward. So to me, that's not acceptable. And it might have been in the past. Going forward, it's not gonna be. So that's my opinion.
My question is, do we have more equipment than we need? Because if we have one extra truck more than what we actually need, that costs us a lot of money and having to replace that truck. And shouldn't the asset management cover our fire department, not a separate fire department reserve? Shouldn't it just be part of our asset management? Because they're all our trucks.
So, yeah, asset management covers everything within the township, but it's not unnormal to see separate kind of reserves for fire and everything like that. Certain departments, right? There's nothing abnormal about that.
Nothing abnormal, but if we had one reserve
Yep.
equipment, then we could say, okay, John's truck is a priority, that comes under that reserve.
Right, you just, basically all you would do then is shift, the contribution would just shift from here
To our
to your asset management, right? That's all it is, right? But we keep the things separate and reserves for a reason, because it allows it to separate them rather than having it all bunched in together, right?
I think the danger of what happens there is then, well, we need a new fire truck. Well, we got all kinds of money in reserves. We had all kinds of money in the fire reserve.
Yeah.
Well, not really. That's part of our asset management. So,
You're right.
yeah, and it's like Jeff said, last council meeting, yeah, you shouldn't take that all out of that fire reserve, maybe only a third of it or whatever, not to deplete the reserve.
Correct, but I think I look at it this way, is if Rob didn't have the money in there last year for that new truck, we would have looked at a higher tax rate than what we did last year,
Or we would have deferred the truck for another year.
right? But the challenges with that is two things. Your might be affecting the insurance perspective under the NFPA. And second is, as we all know, costs go up. Right, so if you delay the cost, and that's the reality, delay the cost now, you might be paying an extra $50,000 more next year, right? So it's finding that right balance, and, you know, I totally get it, is that it's hard.
I think, well, under the expenses, there are two things. One, I don't see how you spend 18,000 in hydro. Like, when the public works grant spends a lot less, and I think Kathleen did a pretty good job on reducing the hydro rates for all the, so have you ever done an audit, Rob, on hydro? And see what you could reduce, and program will go, because the fire station only has to be just barely above zero when nobody's there, and be able to turn it up whenever.
So, come in. So, you know, I looked at, compared our fire station to all municipal buildings last year, and our fire stations were actually one of the lowest. Our fire station in Maitland has programmable thermostats. They all have setbacks. So that's done. Our vehicle bays aren't kept just below zero, but they're kept, I think it goes down to, I'm gonna get my starting rates. Because one of our, some of them, I think they're down to like 45 or 50, and it is cold. You know what, and I know there's staff right around here. They know I keep that place cold, right? As far as upgrading, even North Augusta has a programmable thermostat, and there was another department near to us that put their entire ledger on their website, and we spent, for example, in heat, if I remember, I don't have it with me,
17,000, I think.
14, I think. For one station, they spent 7, or something to that effect, but I just gotta get back in here.
But hydro,
And hydro was, again, I'm just gonna bring up like I said, I can absolutely look into it, but I can tell you all the lights at station 1 are all on timers that when they go off automatically. Station 2, they're not on timers, but they're not left on. There's, you know, as far as hydro, I do believe it is, just trying to find that.
I don't know. That's more than we use in the farm, running milking machines and everything else on the dairy farm in Roebuck.
Well, and I think if you look at even the 3-year average for hydro, from 2021, 3-year average is about 16,794, right?
Thinking about the public works garage.
Yeah.
And they're using a lot of equipment
Mhm.
is lower. Just hydro struck me as a little on the high side for two buildings.
But if I look at another fire station that was just recently built in the area, its hydro for last year was, for one station, $8,565. For one station. So I don't think we're out of the ballpark, but I can absolutely look at ways we can save.
While doing an audit, like Kathleen did on the rec buildings.
Yep, through your worship. There is going to be a cost savings for Augusta, North Augusta Fire Station. All the lights are being redone with non-ballast LED lights. So that's going to give a greater savings to Rob on that particular building.
Yeah. Okay, because I seen the cost savings you did for the rec buildings, it was significant.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, the other thing is, that we should cut back what we put in reserves this year, same thing, same as the administration. So how much we want to cut back is, I guess, a discussion. I don't propose that we increase money to reserves.
So if I can suggest, can I just finish what I have left and then we'll go back to that? Is that okay? So when we look at total expenditures, for 2025, we're showing a surplus of 489,000. Again, that has to do with the money in, money out for the tanker. And for net department costs, and although we have lower expenditures, we also, the net costs result in a overall budget to budget increase of 3.88 for the fire department. And the net effect of the fire department on overall township budget is 0.9% out of the current township budget. On the next slide. Okay, you got that. So budget pressures again, we talked about the file opposition and wages. Next slide, how are we doing? So I'm not gonna get too depth into this, but one of our measures is how many firefighters we get to our stations. On average, it's 15, but that's overcompensated with Maitland. Maitland has about 23, North Augusta is about 10. So that's one of our measuring processes, getting better. The responses by NFPA 1920 for rural fire services were increasing, getting better. And firefighter certification, again, 93% of our firefighters have met the first compliance deadline. Okay. And our goals for next year is to keep our turnout going up, keep reducing our response times to try to meet the NFPA standard. With our new inspector, he's got a lot of training to do, stuff like that. So we're hoping to do 20 fire inspections and again, keep working on the certified training.
Any questions, Darren? Thank you, Rob. Good report. Good.
So anything you want to go in regards to fire? I know the deputy mayors talked about the transfers to reserves. Want we make that as a note for council to look at, or?
You can, but
Okay,
that'd be on last step, so.
And maybe add a note as well for discussion, the burn permits, as Rob suggested, possibly looking into charging for them.
You want a little bit more information on that, or?
Do you have more information?
Not a whole lot, but I know Edwardsburg Cardinal, for example, last year started charging $10 per permit. And currently, I have it written down here somewhere. Well, I believe last year it was in the neighborhood, we put out approximately 1,300 to 1,400. And we already we've already given out, I believe it's in the neighborhood of 300. I have it here somewhere, but 1,337 last year, and we've already given out 270 this year. So, but that's just some numbers. It's not gonna make a lot of money, but but again, that's just something to consider. It's not.
If somebody has a fire without a permit, does it actually cost us money for you to go out and check it out? Because a lot of times it's information stuff, you don't charge or whatever, because if you charge even $10 a permit, I bet you your permit's only half or maybe more than half.
And they may well, but that's where you would offset that with fines.
Well, yes, but that's what I said. Is a fine enough to cover?
Yes.
Because if it's a $50 fine and it costs you $100 to go out and investigate, we're losing money.
I don't have the fines with me. I believe it's in the neighborhood of $200.
Yeah.
Fine.
As long as it's neutral or making bit money.
We used to have before where, if we got a complaint about, fire, and if we went out there and the person did not have a fire permit, and we're not following the rules,
Yeah.
they actually were given a fine plus the cost of all the vehicles that had to attend. So you had 2 pumpers, whatever, we used the MTO rate, and they were fined, $1,200, $1,300. And if they didn't pay, it was added to their taxes.
Yeah. But it costs us money to have the pumpers and stuff go out.
Yeah,
What the fine equal to what it cost us.
yeah, so they would get a $200 fine, plus they would get the cost of all of our vehicles going up there on top of that.
Yeah.
Right?
As long as it's route neutral.
Yeah.
Revenue neutral.
Yeah.
So we charge $10 a burn permit based on this year's and last year's figures. 13,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
13,000.
Yeah, in the neighborhood, 13, 14,000.
So, yeah.
Anything else?
We gotta start looking at the user fees.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else on fire? We done bylaw? So if you want, leave it up to you, council, but we've got just 3 kind of quick ones, and then we roll into public works. Do you want to take a break when we before we start public works in about 5-10 minutes, maybe? I'll leave it up to you. Because I'm sure it'll be a rough one. Okay. The next one is, police services. So, as council will see that there is a slight increase with our police services. That has been offset by, some of our reserves that we have left over through the modernization and the tax write-off. So there's no effect to the tax rate this year. The unknown right now is, whenever we got the initial increase, we were about 16% year over year increase in police services. So the province did come in and provide a grant to offset our costs of about, I think our discount was about 109,000. We don't know how that's gonna play out next year, whether there's going to be another grant provided or whether or not we'll be on the hook for the full 109. So, we haven't heard anything since then. So, we potentially could be, add another 2% on to the budget next year for police services. It's unknown at this time. Anything on that one? Nope, okay.
Just on that one, I think we should explore a different option. And that would be with the regional police force and have Jeff. Have the attorneys look at it.
But as far as I know, it's dead.
Well, it's only dead because everybody got this grant from the government.
Yes,
If you don't get the grant next year,
I don't know. But that's not gonna solve things in the next 2 years. Unfortunately.
Okay, next one is the building. So, the biggest piece of that is the staffing, and as council, I've discussed with council through succession planning, with the, upcoming retirement of Karen over the next, 12 to 14 months. We're looking at hiring either a building inspector or a deputy chief building official that could provide assistance to Karen, for the interim, but also, take a lot of her knowledge and stuff so that, when she does retire, we have somebody to kind of seamlessly fill in for her. Other than that, the rest of it is just more of her conferences and everything like that, so. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, the next one then is, the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, South Newton, so.
Who's she making on the board?
So those are numbers that have been provided. The South Nation's been provided to us. I still think we're waiting on the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, so we've kind of increased it just slightly a little bit. I don't know if the deputy mayor has any insight on that.
Yeah, it'll be a slight increase.
Okay, all right.
Rito affects us less because we have less.
That's
area.
exactly right, exactly right. And then also under the drainage, so we've got, drainage superintendent professional fees in case we need to utilize that. Beaver control, so as council can see over the last 2 years, our public works manager has done a lot of work on, beaver control, and we've seen some high cost for that, but I think John thinks that this year we'll have a better handle on it and we'll see some decreased issues, so we've reduced that. We've increased it slightly from year over year, but we don't expect that number to be over the 15,000 like it was last year. Other than that, that's it for that one. Any questions on that? Okay, so then I would probably recommend the mayor a break before we roll into the public works one.
Yeah. Break.
Okay.
My hydro flow.
All right, so next we'll do Public Works and just give you a second and I will. Where am I? I'm first. We're not seeing.
Roads and transportation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much talking.
Alright.
Here's John's going to.
Do you know Clayton?
Okay.
There was the one that's filed.
Yeah, I sent it.
Right there. It's weird.
It's very weird.
Saved it in a different spot, I bet you.
Isn't showing up.
Want me to get Maddie to send it?
Oh, he's got it there. It's just not copy and paste it.
But it's sitting on the desktop. Where it says custom files at the bottom. No, the opposite side of the screen.
Right.
Over here.
Here.
Change
All
all.
There we go. It is.
The words
Very
on the bottom.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
That's weird.
It's very weird.
You know what? It looks like it's a PDF extension.
Different version of,
No.
I don't think that's. More.
So, yeah.
I think there's something wrong with it.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah,
Michelle doesn't have a copy, but she listens, and I think she's all right.
yeah, I'll work on it while John goes ahead with it.
Then there goes all my beautiful pictures.
I'll get them up.
Oh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time today, for my introduction. Public Works is committed to providing timely and efficient services to all Augusta residents and to all users of our roads and facilities. Safety definitely is our top priority for the Public Works Department, ensuring that minimum maintenance standards are met during every season. In 2024, with the addition of some new equipment to the fleet, Public Works was able to enhance its activities relating to roadways, drainage, streetlights, and waste management. In 2025, Public Works will strive to continue providing exceptional service to all residents, as well as work proactively to upgrade and maintain existing infrastructure. Okay, perfect.
Just wait, can you see that, Councillor Bowman?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Sorry about that.
So next page was what I just read. Nice, beautiful pictures. So again, there's the bucket truck that we're gonna be throwing out right away. Next page, please.
New tandem snowplow. New front end loader.
So for our
New
20,
half-ton trucks.
we're getting a brand new fleet. So some 2024 accomplishments, of course, we did the rehabilitation of Merwin Lane North. We did shy of 600 meters of culverts that were installed. We got a new flail mower that was purchased for roadside grass cutting. We got a new tandem snowplow, new front end loader, 2 new half-ton trucks. We got 2 sea containers for storage for our small yard. We also got a new half-ton plow for winter maintenance to run around from transfer stations. Last year, we did some patching on the 4th concession and Blue Church Road. The bucket truck, of course, was added to our working fleet. We did a roadside tree cutting program that was completed for the season. We did a name a truck with the local Maynard Public School. Next page, please. New fencing at the Maynard Transfer Station, new fencing and gates at the Maynard Transfer Station. We roughly do 11,000 tons of road maintenance stone for our unpaved roads. Again, 85 kilometers of unpaved roads that we have, we're all sprayed with calcium to keep the dust down and to keep them nice and hard. Completed, so a new thing that we brought in this year is now, our new annual traffic counts that are mandatory to do. So we have up-to-date traffic counts throughout the township for 2024. We did roughly 7 kilometers of drainage improvements that were completed throughout the township, 16 entrance ways installed, 49 beavers relocated. We did a new street light that was installed, County Road 18, Cedar Grove. New street light that was installed at the East McLean Boulevard, that was at the dead end of the Merck Hall in Maitland. The only thing that was what was carried over from last year, of course, was the street light, County Road 18 in McIntosh. We're in the mix between the counties and Hydro One. Don't know where my permit or my layout is. I have no clue right now. We've made some emails and some phone calls on that one. And another one that we accomplished last year, it was the Limerick Pit. So the Limerick Pit was no good to us, liability reasons and all that good stuff. It was transferred to the United Counties of Leeds and Granville. So we're now down to 2 pits. So for our 2024 budget for our capitals, so last year we saved approximately 10% on our capitals. Roughly $117,000, which was a part of our surplus that we had last year for 2024. So this year for our budget for 2025 proposed capital, at the very top, I have a surface treatment for all 3 of these, a surface treatment for 4th Concession Road from Charleville Road to Hillbrook Road, Blue Church Road from Lords Mills Road to County Road 26, North Campbell Road from County Road 26 to McIntosh. Maintenance stone for our unpaved roads as per every year. Drainage improvements in there to do some ditching and of course drainage improvements throughout the township. Line painting, crack sealing, dump box here for our first new truck there that we had a couple of years ago. $60,000 for a new dump box for truck 6. And patching, so a usual patching. And then the last 3 that we cut out right away, we're trying to get some new reserves to hopefully, as we had at the beginning of this meeting, looking for a new snowplow eventually. Public Works parking lot was also on my original wish list. It was, of course, cut. And just to give you guys another heads up for Church Street. So Church Street, I was trying to, so our liners, the existing underground services are concrete, 12-inch concrete pipes that are asbestos. We had them cambered a few years ago, so there's some minor cracking in them. They're still stable, still structurally wise. I would like to, anyways, this Church Street's probably going to be an $800,000 plus to do it all. I was trying to break it up, get the undergrounds first. So it's just a liner that goes through, they blow up, harden around, and you're structurally sound with a new plastic pipe liner inside your existing concrete. And of course, also with concrete asbestos, it's going to be, if we have to dig it up and excavate and remove it, asbestos, of course, is a very costly thing to get rid of. Next page, please. 2025 proposed operation budget highlights. So these are just the minor changes that we had for it. Everything else is pretty neutral. So dust layer, we spent about $115,000 last year. We're going to ask for $115,000 for this year. Addition of $15,000. Our winter maintenance for our sand and salt. So we can deduct $20,000 off of that. So with our salt now, we have we have cut our salt down a fair amount the last couple of years. We used to have way too much salt in our unpaved roads. So I've cut 75% of our salt out of the unpaved material that goes on to the unpaved roads for the sand salt. Salaries, of course, are going up. So now that we have a 100% of the operator too. So recently we were sharing with Parks and Rec. I was paying, as we were sharing an operator there. My coordinator wages are 100% on my salaries this year for operations. And there's also roughly a 4% increase in there for the CBA, the collective bargaining agreements that is due very soon. Staff benefits, of course, mandatory. They went up 16% of an increase. Insurance, of course, went up a hair. And I've cut down so we used to have $150,000 in our operations budget for contract services. I've reduced that down to 100, so a $50,000 savings. And that will also help that we have our own bucket truck for our forestry. And that also will help if, because last year we did not have any drainage improvements in our budget period until we came back later with our savings from capital. So those are the increases and decreases in the operations budget. Is there any questions on that one?
Yeah, question on, capital budget, how much of that 920,000 is covered by the gas tax?
All of it is, isn't it? There's
yeah.
reserves in there too, I believe.
So all your surface treatment roads are all covered by your federal gas tax and your OSIF.
Which is 300 and. Exactly what it is.
Much is our gas tax for here?
It is.
41,000.
41, yeah.
Yeah. So if we did cut some of this, we still wouldn't affect our gas tax. We're still not getting enough gas tax to do all of them.
Correct.
No, if you cut any of these roads out, you're not affecting the tax rate at all. Because none are coming out of the tax rate.
None of these coming out of tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Reserves, another percentage of your reserves go up.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright. The only other question was, where did you relocate those 49 beavers? Hopefully to the cemetery.
You shall ask by contractor that one. That doesn't, it's not us, it's a contractor that deals with nuisance wildlife. All right, so we're past the operations. Next would be getting into the budget. So surface treatment has been, so for our road need study, Blue Church and the Fourth Concession are definitely on our road need study for the last couple of years, 2023 road need study. It was on there for an overlay, and North Campbell Road was not, but North Campbell Road in 2024 after the freeze thaw, there was a good chunk of it, like you saw these other ones that I had to patch, that blew up. So for surface treatment, so a surface treatment would be using the existing base. We do not have to dig it up. There's no distortion, no movement of the base, proper drainage. So the existing base would have an emulsion down on it, a layer of 5/8 minus, which is your shoulder material, 5/8 minus granular M. They put an emulsion on top of that again. They use a clean stone, an HL3 clean stone. And then the fog seal that we add onto the fog seal helps with keeping that clean stone into the road. So before, if you do not use the fog seal, you probably saw a lot of free ditching, a lot of free extra stone on the side of the road, and sometimes windshields. So we hopefully cut down some phone calls for the fog seal. So another reason why I picked these three roads, they're very close in proximity. And with those three roads that close, we'll probably get a better bang for our buck. And with this amount of, this should cover approximately 6 kilometers of our roads for our assets. Next page. So for winter maintenance stone, we were asking again for $140,000. We have approximately 85 kilometers of unpaved road that we maintain every year. Resurfacing with this new granulars reduces the impact of erosion on these types of roads, prevents potholes and deterioration. Mm-hmm. So a few years ago, it was $180,000. We are making do now with $140,000 for unpaved roads. The last couple of years. Annual township maintenance. So again, drainage improvements are in there for $100,000 a year, or for this year. Line painting as usual, crack sealing, roadway patching. So this maintenance is required yearly to ensure roadways meet MMS, minimum maintenance standards, and are in good condition for all users. These improvements are completed by the Public Works Department throughout the year as deemed necessary. Next page, please. Dump box for number 6. So recently we bought a tandem Freightliner a few years ago, and I look at my office window all summer long and it sits in my bay. So it has so this existing truck 6 that we have now it's a roller pro, so you can roll off the existing attachment to add an existing attachment like a water tanker, a flatbed. So with our dump box, again, I'm trying to add this to our fleet to make this truck useful for us in the summer. So last year I had to rent some trucks here and there from when we did our drainage. This truck will also help out, so this will have barn doors, it'll also have the regular doors. Usually when we do culvert installs, we have to remove a tailgate from a truck, which is time consuming. We remove the tailgate and then we stack the culverts in that U-body truck. Also now with this swing gate, we can use that truck accordingly to bring culverts to the job site and to, of course, bring the old ones back. Another reason why we would also love a new dump box for our fleet. A lot of our trucks, of course, are U-bodies for sand. And you can see the truck that we had before, truck 7. Sometimes when you want to do some ditching or grab some topsoil with your excavator, anyways, it grabbed the square bucket, went in there and creased the U-body. So we had to put some puckboard in there to make our sand slide into it. But yeah, again, this will help enhance the summer maintenance program, which includes culvert installation, ditching projects, and other projects. So again, with the existing attachment on that truck, it is a U-body, but in that truck, there's inside the box itself, it has a bunch of cross members for strength. It's not very well recommended to use ditching in there because it's going to catch, if you get any cattails or dirt and clay in there, it's gonna stick in this box. So it's not very good for ditching materials. It's good for topsoil dumped off. It's good for 5/8 dumped off only. Next, please. Again, so rehab of our public works yard. Again, it's been crossed off our list, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention how bad the existing parking lot is, poor drainage, fatigue cracking, potholes. Every time you can hear the bang, my truck's coming in nice and slow and they're, it's harsh on the material, or sorry, it's harsh on our vehicles for the uneven of the pavement. The current parking lot, of course, does not meet the needs of our department and requires immediate attention. So we are patching it here and there. And again, talking about the relining for a future job, trying to split the costs up. So underground services, of course, we have to dig it up, it gets very expensive. For the relining of these culverts on Church Street from the fire station down to Highway 2, which is Church Street in Maitland. Again, they're asbestos, they're videoed. They're clean and videoed in 2021. And as for our new consolidated linear infrastructure that we are now a part of with the Ministry of Environment, we must clean these storm sewers every 5 years. So next year it'll be on my list to, again, camera these. This work will help ensure that the pipes are structurally sound. Realigning is the most cost-effective than excavating. Disposal of the current cement asbestos will be very expensive and costly. And again, it'd be nice to break up the cost. So this would be a roughly an $900,000 job. And we were looking at probably $250,000 to line these pipes to split up the cost of the eventual rehab that Church Street needs. And for my last, here's the tandem snowplow again. So we tried, anyways, we had my first round, I had $200,000 in there to put in reserve because we knew that truck 2 is coming to its end of life. And, try and break it up this year, put $200,000 aside to buy a $400,000 truck in 2026. Well, now my hands are kind of tied on the earlier report that came to you guys first thing. So yes, this truck is 15 years old. It is on the replacement block for 2026. And yeah, other than that, it was, of course, removed from the budget too. So I, again, thank everybody for your time. I appreciate it. And if there's any questions, I would gladly take them.
Yeah, okay, a question on dump box for truck number 6. But if we are looking at buying this new truck now, would it be better to put the dump box on that truck because what would you have, 2-year warranty? Be better to use it?
So with a new sander unit, they're usually a use. And again, you'll have the same box as 7.
Well, with the new truck, when you order the box you want?
No, because of the sander unit. Yes, so they have to slide into your conveyor belt, right?
Would it be more efficient? Put the new box on the new.
No, I have 6 because so eventually, when we bought the 2 trucks, your manager before bought 2 trucks. One was $425,000, which is this truck 6, and truck 7 was $375,000. So we spent an extra $50,000 for a Roller Pro truck that now we have to sink another $50,000 into it to make it useful in the summer times.
Other questions, Michelle? No?
John, when you look at it, you're about $1 million for roads total,
Yes,
so which is not bad at all.
Yeah.
So.
I think I'll add is that his original budget was.
I had a 1.4, a 1.2, and
Yeah, he gave us 3 different options, of course, and certainly due to the budget numbers that were coming in, we went with this 3rd option. Still addresses some of the issues, but I think John has provided a little bit of context on some of the things that are forthcoming, and I will say the Church Street relining. In my previous job, we used the relining. It works very well, very cost efficient because you're not tearing up the road and all that kind of stuff like that, but there's a window where it makes sense to do it. And if it gets beyond that, where the culvert's no longer good at all, then you have to remove the whole entire thing, so.
As a former resident of Church Street, never had a problem. The water goes downhill, the county road 2, which is their problem. So why put money in it at all?
for Church Street?
Yeah.
So we have storm sewers on Church Street. We have 17.
Well, I know you do. I live there.
Yes.
I'm saying the water goes downhill.
Yes,
So
it
why do we need to do it?
So we have current infrastructure under there. If it collapses, the road could collapse also.
I'll wait for that.
Hey, I live on Church Street.
There it is.
I don't think the road's gonna collapse in the next 50 years.
No.
Anyway.
If it does, Jeff will pay for it.
And I do have video if anybody wants to see the cameras that went through Church Street and all the drainage we have underground services. Yes.
You're about 100 till you reach that one.
He's already taken it in.
I know he's taking
It's got a big X.
Anybody have any other questions for John? Yeah.
And just the one thing to demonstrate to the council is the reasons why we still want staff to go through the projects that were cut is to at least bring council up to date on where these things are at. But it also gives us an opportunity that if funding does come out, we're able to look at this list and maybe there's a project that fits that grant that we can apply for. So like for John's example, that Church Street, there's a grant that comes out for underground infrastructure and like that. We can pull that now and we can look for grants and stuff like that. And we do talk to Grant Match quite a bit. So, and they're very good on getting to us saying, hey, there's these 3 grants that just came out. Do you have any projects that meet those requirements? So, yeah. So is there anything in the operating budget itself that council wants to discuss in regards to Public Works?
And I also have one more thing in there.
Yeah.
So in our, I believe in section 6 for supporting documents, salaries, you'll see farther in here, I've also have a capital budget program sheet in there for a full-time Public Works operator. So we currently have an employee on staff right now that is probably hopefully is going to retire here soon. We do pay 0.6 of his wage. And I'm just adding, I'm just
It's the
asking,
person that's retired 4 times now,
I think so,
4 times retired.
So anyways, yes, so this is just a top up of adding a 0.4 to fill in his shoes, and this will also help. It's definitely 100% winter, and of course, some grading maintenance, but this will also complement the summer. Of course, my guys don't get too much vacation in the winter. They do use their time off in the summer, and this will help us continue with all the great stuff we do around the township.
Trying to use the grader in the winter.
Yep.
That's the deal.
We got a couple people that are trained for the grader now, yes. Yep. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. And one other thing I just wanted to point out for the surface treatment. Last year, we patched, we invested the patching in on Blue Church in the bad areas in the shade, and we also patched the bad areas on the fourth concession for the anticipation of overlaying it all for it, so it doesn't all blow apart. So with surface treatment, you must preserve it every 5 to 7 years. You must put a lift or something on it, and these surface treatments are blowing up and they haven't had anything for 12 years. Any other questions?
If there's nothing else on Public Works, do you want to go to your vehicle budget line and do you want us to talk about anything in that one? Like we've got the $100,000 budgeted for, I believe,
Parts?
parts and
So-
maintenance and 150 for gas.
Yes, so it has not changed, I believe, Ann, and ever since I've been here, we've always had $100,000 in parts towards our whole fleet. That includes the tractors, the trucks, all the half tons. And we have $150,000 allotted for fuel for our fleet. And we are close to that pretty much every year, right, Ann?
Our 3-year average has been 226,000, so.
And we ever had a harsher winter, which might be this February alone. But yes, we have not touched that. My 5 years here, it's always been 100 and 150.
The comment I have on that is because you do majority of the work in the garage, our cost would be way higher if you had to contract everything out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are doing much more in-house stuff in this township in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Other comment I'll make is, John, everybody loves to see your equipment out on the road. Rob, nothing against you. You don't wanna see that fire truck coming down.
We can take it on tours if we do.
Put that plow on.
But yeah,
With the
no,
plow.
everybody I talk to, they're quite amazed at what you do with Public Works and, the service. You're always good, you never keep everybody happy.
Oh, absolutely not.
But yeah, no, the 97 to 98% of the people are quite happy with Public
Good.
Works.
Thank you. Oh, I got a great crew. Absolute great crew I have.
All right,
I guess where I'm sitting at, just to let you know, is, depending, all this depending on when you get to the reserve section, because they cut reserves, I'm gonna say, okay, I want, North Campbell Road cut. So that's kind of where I'm sitting to give you an idea.
yep, no, we will go through capital once again this afternoon. We'll go kind of project by project and then council can then have their comments whether yes, no, or whatever like that, so.
Actually, John, I did have one question that I'm just looking at my notes there. On the culverts, parts and supply, so last year it was just shy of 18,000. And so this year, last year you budgeted 25, this year you're budgeting 50.
So we had 2 culverts. We had 2 $25,000. So I spend $50,000 every year in culverts. And we get revenues when we do the installs. So yes, there is revenue coming in when we install a new entranceway.
The account directly below that line is combined.
It's cut,
Those
so,
two
yeah.
have combined for this year.
Yeah, I see it there.
Yeah.
That line is also hopefully going to include, I'm trying to get ahead for Weir Rover and order that big 1,500 mil pipe that's gonna be not cheap. And that's kind of next year's kind of job.
Yeah.
To add in. Weir Road needs to be done soon.
Nothing else on that. The next one then is street lighting. Anything you want to add on that? It's pretty much.
Street lights straightforward. We've got, so like I said, we've got a few new street lights that are in the township. But straightforward, they're not overly expensive. You maintain or to light the light bulb.
Interesting there. The next one we'll go to is waste disposal, and I can speak on that, John, and then let you fill in whatever I forget. So as far as waste management, the only two big changes is, of course, our contract services with Fast Eddies. It does go up by CPI every year. We'll start seeing a transition in June of this year as we transfer to the Blue Box program. So we don't know how that's really gonna roll out or how that's gonna look like and what's gonna happen with funding. We have a pretty good idea, but things could possibly change. But the biggest thing in waste management, and you'll see it in the capital sheet, is the new cell. So a new cell 0 that has to be done. We budgeted $150,000 to do it. It has come out of reserves to do it. It's a one-time cell that we need to do. And it's a requirement under the MECP, and it's been actually a requirement for the last 4 or 5 years. So they're being very patient with us, but I think their patience is running out and needs to be done this year. And then we've got our regular monitoring with BlueMetric for our monitoring for North Augusta and for Maynard. So if you look at kind of budget to budget, we're up about $40,000, but that's not including our capital of $150,000. John did a lot of work last year and in 2023 with putting in the fencing around our landfill, and it's a requirement under our licensing right for the landfills that we have to have it secured. So stay tuned. I said more to come, and I know we've talked in the past about bag tags, and certainly something I see coming back for discussion maybe later today or at another future meeting. So any questions in regards to waste management? Anything else from anyone else?
Our question, the only question I have is, our contract with Fast Eddie ends end of 25?
End of 25. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna be different on how we look at it, whether we contract a separate contract for the Blue Box program, or if we incorporate that into Fast Eddie's new contract, or how we go about doing it. So there's a lot of unknowns that we're kind of unraveling right now that we're going through, but
Probably be for next year's budget.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and we don't know what the revenue, like, we won't get in the original revenue budget, you saw $100,000 for the waste diversion program. We won't get that money anymore, but we'll be getting funding on top of that for the Blue Box of about $15,000 a month. But we don't know how that's gonna work out and stuff like that. So this is our transition year, so that's why we're trying to get things kind of set up so that we're ready to go moving forward.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna pull up Kathleen's, we're doing recreation. I'll pull up Kathleen's presentation for council. And there you go, Kath.
So last year, when I did the budget presentation, we were very new with parks, recreation and facilities. We really did not, we had a master plan, but we weren't actively incorporating that master plan into the budget or into the everyday ongoing operating costs. So at that time, I did bring up the fact that we had no historical data to base our recreation budget on, and indicated that 2024 would give us a better idea of exactly what each facility is costing us in operating and capital costs throughout the year. And it certainly has done that. We understand that it's still a vital force in delivering essential services to residents. We did a wide range of community events that took place throughout the township, and significant upgrades to various facilities took center stage, and there were a number of things that were done. Moving forward, Parks, Recreation and Facilities will remain committed to supporting the township's recreation committees while ensuring that the needs and desires of the residents remain a top priority. So what I've done here is we'll go through the accomplishments for each of our facilities. In 2024, there were a number of there was capital monies put aside for remediation work in the basement at Merck. The in-ground drain from the roof was also leaking water into the basement. This was dug up, wrapped, and repaired. The basement was also insulated because it had mold throughout it. It was insulated with truss core and a new dehumidifier to keep the moisture in check in that basement. Remediation was completed in the furnace room to meet fire code. We had a fire inspection completed and we had to put the additional dollars into that to meet code. New countertops and faucets were replaced in the kitchen. The new light posts and LED lights were installed in the parking lot. There was one particular light post that was leaning quite badly and it was a liability. So we had to take corrective action with that. And at the same time, when we looked at the new LED lights and the new posts, the electrical work that had been done previously was not done by a certified electrical company. So we had to do some remediation there also. North Augusta, this was mostly under the CCRF grant. The new roof was installed at the community hall. That was under capital. New siding on the west side of the building was installed. Angled parking was done at the community hall and at the Masonic site. The leveling of the Masonic lot, taking down the building, Fast Eddie's did that. The holding tank was removed. A warming shed was delivered and installed, electrical completed and spray insulated. LED digital sign was installed. LED lights were installed at the Ball Diamond. Existing well and one poly pipe installed to take the overflow from the ditch. There was a problem with that flow of water. We were able to purchase a snow blower and garden furniture under the CCRF. Also, a link fence was installed with a gate for accessibility for flooding the rink. New bleachers were installed at the Ball Diamond and soccer field. And the benches, unfortunately, it was too late in the year for them to be installed. And they'll be done in spring 2025. Domville. So Domville saw a complete renovation. Everything inside was redone. So there was a new roll top for the concession, new fridge, new stainless steel counter and sink. The playground was installed, new sunscreen installed for the baseball diamond home plate on the first baseball field. Eavesdropping was repaired, repointing of the foundation was done, a new hot water tank and a new water pump. Maynard, the new playground was installed. The pickleball courts were completed and are being utilized. No parking signs installed along Rock Road. The grand opening was held August the 11th. Security cameras are up and running and the rink is being well utilized by the community. Roebuck. We had capital dollars put aside to do some work at Roebuck. Unfortunately, time ran out with all the other things that were being done. And so we were able to repaint the parking lot curves. New entrance steps were installed and a number of dead trees were removed. And that was courtesy of Public Works. Township office, so the landscaping was redone. The sheds were stained by the summer students and the remediation work at the entrance was not completed, again, due to time restrictions. Summer day camp, we all know that the summer day camp was a successful camp. Registration was strong. We hired an RECE educator to run the summer day camp. We hired 5 summer students to support the camp under the RECE. And the PA winter break day camps were also well attended. Volunteer appreciation. The volunteer appreciation was held at Roebuck Hall with 40 volunteers attending. And as a thank you, the township gave volunteers a challenge coin with a box of chocolates. So now we get to the difficult part. And it gives me no pleasure to present this, believe me. You'll see that we have some overages in all our facilities. And the reason for that is, again, I go back to, we had no historical data to build on. And this was a test in 2024 to see exactly how much it would cost. Now, when we look at this, there's a number of things that you have to take into consideration. In these figures, there's also not just the regular monthly costs and the cost to maintain, but also costs for repairs. And there were a number of repairs that had to be done. And when I talk about the Maitland Fire Code that was not met, that cost residents extra dollars. And that's why you're going to see a large overage for MERC. Also at the same time, we were fortunate enough through Public Works with John's connections to get some new bleachers from Brockville that they were not using. But the cost, we incorporated that cost under MERC again to have them delivered. We also had to have a bucket truck. We had to rent a bucket truck to do the netting for the baseball diamond. And then we had a problem with the furnace and we had a problem with the AC. That's at MERC. Maynard, we saw the overages there. We paid the insurance last year for Maynard due to the fact that they had no money to pay for the insurance. We saw hydro seeding completed. These were not things that were put into the CCRF when it was pulled together by the Maynard Rec Committee. Netting for the baseball diamond, the opening event, the furnace, which is on its last legs. We've had to have HVAC come in a number of times to keep that furnace going so the water doesn't freeze. And plumbing. We've had problems with the pipes and a number of them broke over Christmas. North Augusta, we did the winter shutdown there. We did the freezer inspection and repairs. We've had some plumbing issues there too. And we split half with the stone dust for the ball diamond in North Augusta. If we look at Roebuck, we'll talk the snow removal there. I'll also go back to snow removal for MERC. The cost for MERC just for January and first 2 weeks of February was $4,000 to have the snow removed from May. For Roebuck, the cost has been $3,000. Repairs and maintenance. What happened was costs weren't applied into the appropriate accounts. So under repairs and maintenance, you'll see a lot of dive center charges, pump outs, which are quite regular. The grass cutting, signage, all those were put under repairs and maintenance, unfortunately not under the dive center. The dive center had $4,000 put aside, and that's the overage that you're going to see in repairs and maintenance. Contract services, Maynard engineering cost came out of that, and that was $12,000. Also, at the same time, for all of our facilities, we've also incorporated dog waste programs at each of our facilities. And we've done signage for our facilities also. I think with what has happened over this past year, you'll see that we've made a huge dent in some of our facilities, which have gone unnoticed for many years. I think we're making a really good attempt. Are they the figures that we wanted to see? No, they're not the figures we wanted to see, but I think it gives us something to build on. If you'll look at the capital for last year, we just had a variance of Donville, and that was when the Recreation Committee did shut down. They did not winterize the water pump correctly, so that was just something that we had to cover. So you'll see 2025, yes, so when we start looking at something happened here, that's not correct. My 2025 budget operations is 25,000 for for Maitland, Maynard, and North Augusta and Roebuck. Oh, I see it now. Sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, so I was looking in the wrong, and I'm going, what did I do? Donville, I've kept at 15,000. Or sorry, I've increased to 15,000. Maitland, I've increased to 25, Maynard 25, North Augusta 25, and Roebuck at 25. I don't think there's much more to be said to that. So in 2024, I was asked to seek out some costs for some capital projects, the accessible kayak dock, the dog park at Kemp Park. We did a survey there. I included them in the capital this year. They will not be part of capital this year unless council decides to choose that. The only thing that we have for capital this year is fire inspection repairs at Roebuck to meet fire code. Thank you. Questions? I know you have questions.
Sure. Yeah, the one question I have, Kathleen, is like we're going from 12,000 to 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
For all the, now is that money that they get, or is that the money that you're spending there? Because right now, the associations, they say they're making money hand over fist because they're not paying the hydro, they're not paying the heat, they're not doing the grass cutting or the.
That's correct.
Planting. So, okay, it looked to me like, well, because what we used to do before, we used to give East Recreation 6,000, and then we upped it to 8,000. So we're not giving East Recreation 25,000. What are we giving East Recreation? Anything?
Nothing,
Nothing, okay.
because they're saving money
Yeah, okay, no, that's.
over and above.
It looked,
what
when
the
you read
costs
this,
are.
it looks like we're giving them 25,000.
No,
And that's just what's earmarked and what it costs us.
yes,
Yeah.
The council looks at the book there. You go back to 2021 through to 2024, you can see we only gave anywhere from 6,000,
Yeah.
maybe up to 8,000, okay?
yes,
And then at that time, we said no more money and we're gonna basically take over.
Yeah.
The cost, but we didn't realize costs.
exactly. So last year, when I came with the budget, we asked for $15,000. That was brought back to 12. Again, not knowing what our actual costs would be.
Now, like, the danger in reverting back was stuff doesn't get done. The buildings start falling apart, so that's why it costs us more money. So in the future, it shouldn't maybe cost us as much.
No,
Yeah.
as I said,
Once we get-
I think we've made a really good dent.
Yeah.
As, you know, when we look at Maitland, when we look at Roebuck, North Augusta, we might need to, you know, next year, take a look at doing a few things. Donville, nothing. I mean, they're in great shape. So we did make a really good dent, really.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
when you talked previously, and if I can address this, the summer day camp. So you had concerns about it being not self-sustaining. So I had a quick talk with Ann and Shannon, and if we bump the cost up to $275, that will cover the costs.
Right, if I may,
Yes,
how many of those people are non-township?
I don't have the
Because
percentages in
When I'm
front of
looking
me.
at what I heard when it was presented back in the fall, well, there's a number of people from outside the township that were paying the same amount. So I think what we have to do is if you're township, there's one price. If you're non-township, there's another price.
Yeah,
That'd be my suggestion.
So
I think that's great.
yeah, so I believe, Mayor, back whenever the report was presented, I believe about 60 to 70% were from kind of the Prescott, Eversburg, Cardinal, and
Yeah,
Augusta.
with our,
And then the rest came from like Rockville. I think there was a few from Athens and
from
surrounding areas.
Town, but
Yeah.
that was employees.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really wasn't somebody,
You
but
said 275?
yes, would cover the costs.
Cover the costs, so.
We wouldn't make much.
No,
but we
no,
would
no, no,
cover
no, I'm
costs.
just thinking, person with 2 kids, they drop them off, so that's. Well, that's not a week, that's.
That's a week.
That's
That's a week.
Yeah,
75 a week,
75 a week for each child,
each
Yes.
child.
So
it's
$550.
$100 a day, a little over $100 a day. What was the Y charge, anybody know?
I do know that it's $400 and up for most camps in the summer.
And the Y has subsidy programs.
Yeah, and the Y has subsidy, and we're looking at that. We're looking, we don't just want to say this is the cost, because we know that the economical situation in this township and elsewhere is a challenge for a number of families. So what we're doing is we're meeting with agencies to get support to cover those costs also, so that they are not stuck and that they do have the opportunity to bring their kids.
So why don't we, you're gonna have to, maybe we can get this resolved today.
Yes.
The clerk does a quick resolution, for, if you're a township resident,
Mhm.
I'm just throwing this figure out, you gotta do some quick math there.
Yeah.
Say it's 200, and if you're non-township, then it's 250, or 240, whatever. So can you do that math? Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to what council wants. If council wants the camp to be self-sustaining, then it would have to be at $275.
Mhm.
Now, if council wants to say, okay, if you're not a resident of the township or of South Granville, the price is now, say, $325.
Seems high, because I haven't had kids in a while, so I don't know, it's good.
But I think for this year, because we've already put it out there, I think we have to stay with that 175, but it doesn't say anything in there about resident or, so we could add that $25 for outer residents. Because the ad says 175, but there's no specifications. So I think we could still, but I think if we go back now and say, oh, wait a minute, no, it's not 175, it's 250, take a lot of flack for it. And then people will, if they're ticked off, then they say, well, then.
We won't
screw
get
that.
kids.
You'll lose kids, and last year there was only a couple of the weeks that were a little short, most of them were full.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have any trouble raising it for outer residents, and everybody will say that's fine, because we pay extra for our residents to go to rec facilities and even in South Grenville.
Yeah.
It's only been up for a week, remember, so.
Yeah.
I can say that it has been up for a week, but our numbers are high already.
Yeah.
We are full in some of the weeks already. Just so that you have all that information.
Now, the other advantage you can look at too is leading at the same price to a certain time, and after that, anybody that pays after that is paying the new price. It might give you the advantage of getting people to sign up earlier.
Yeah.
With a new rate coming up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we can look at an increase for next year.
Yeah, you can maintain that price next year if you want or whatever.
Or next year, look at
Yeah.
making it more sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say do it now.
We already got it out there.
Well,
And the
Leave
people
the one price out there, but if you're not in township, there's. an
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that. If you're on a township, there should be an extra fee.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't say wait till next year.
No, do that this year, but say with the 175 for residents, because we've already put that in there.
But I don't think they really said that in their posting.
Yeah, the
We
price was in the poster.
The price is in the poster.
Yeah, you didn't say just for Augusta.
No, we did
residents.
not. No, we did not. No.
No, we can specify that after, in the detail. Devil's in the details.
Yeah, well, it's no different from what you're saying, you know, like.
No, I was,
Use people, well,
no, I was saying, but I would like to make it sustainable. But maybe not go right to the 275, but it should have been raised from 175 to 200. And then next year, maybe raise it again, depending on the uptake and everything else, cost is going up. So, and I think it's still at 175 is still a good deal for parents. Compared to other day camps, compared to childcare.
yeah,
Just a question about Donville, are they gonna be upset with not an increase in theirs?
They're all renovated and we put up new, baseball diamond. They only run 6 to 7 months of the year. They should not, in my opinion, and I'm sure council will support that. $25,000 is a lot for a facility that runs for such a short period of time.
I guess I just look at the other facilities actually make money. And that facility really doesn't make money other than baseball season. But they get less money, just the way I see it.
True enough.
But under this, nobody's getting any, right, but nobody's.
No, but you know what I mean.
That's just earmark.
That should be.
There's projects that I'm sure that they'd like on their wish list that could be bump them up to what everybody else does because they don't have the option of having big events that's just baseball.
Through your worship. So, they spent, how much was it?
Their actual last year
12,000? Was
was just over 13,000
Yeah.
last year.
for 2024. So I think 15, and look what we did. We got, you know, we got them a new spreader, we got them a new sunscreen. You know, I know on the wish list, they've asked for a lot more. But I have indicated to all of the committees this year that with all the work that was done last year, that the possibility is there that not that much would be done this year.
Yeah.
So I think they understand. I think you raise a valid point. But they didn't even exceed the budget really last year. So I think whatever few requests that they have, we can probably meet those.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue either, not from what I'm hearing from them.
So Kathleen,
Yes,
so with, again, we had to do a lot of work in these buildings because a lot of it has been ignored for many years. Do you anticipate, I know it's hard to say at this point, but do you anticipate that there's a lot more that has to be done? Like as far as the buildings and upkeeps and all that kind of stuff? These numbers are really, sorry, Kathleen, I didn't mean to cut you